the callbacks went non-union. Wow. So it was over. You know what I mean?
And a lot of big commercials are going non-union.
It's horrifying.
Yeah. Paying nothing.
But again, like I said, the catch-22 is, I did a really good one with Farmer Boys last November, December,
I
January.
was shocked. The Farmer Boy, you were the homicide detective.
Oh, you saw it?
That was a great commercial.
Yeah. So the other thing is that at least you turn it into, just like with Madsen, you turn it into now you're a brand. And I don't know what his rate was. I'm going to say between 10 and 40,000 for the day or whatever the hell they paid him.
Was he a 1 day, 2 days?
It's 1 day.
Wow. Oh, we're on there. Hold on. We're just talking about nobody you know. Anyone listening? My paisans and I are talking about nothing in particular.
Of course, nothing at all.
I'm looking at Megalodon because we got the boys from Megalodon.
Guess what time it is?
It's that time you think it is, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed that time.
It's 7 in the morning, and it's time for the Jeff Sargent Show. Only on Kaotic Radio.
Now, see, if this were in the Midwest, it would be Farm Report, then the Jeff Sargent Show.
Only an hour away from Hollywood. Right, guys?
Yes, that's correct.
We've got a returning guest, thank you very much, and he's promoting a shark movie, which we've officially announced. This is Shark Week on the Jeff Sargent Show.
Everybody loves sharks movies.
Yes.
Whether you love sharks, afraid of sharks, you love sharks, you want to pet a shark.
Oh, you want a shark to pet you?
Movie. There's not enough shark movies.
There is not enough shark movies, and that's the mantra of the Asylum, the makers of Megalodon, which has no reason in particular to be coming out this close to a movie called The Meg, also about a Megalodon. So that one cost about $400 million and stars the guy who's in every other Expendables movie. This one stars our boy Dom and his friend Luke, as well as Michael, give me a roll and I'm there, Madsen. I interviewed Michael Madsen for Fangoria.com when he did The Bleeding, which the script spoke to him. It was about monster trucks and vampires.
What a combination, man.
And the guy, there was an Italian guy named Dominic.
Yeah.
He looked like a bald Lou Ferrigno, and Dominic played Vinny. It was one of those great low-budget movies where they got Michael Madsen for like 2 days, and they got Vinny, what's his name, from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Vinny Jones.
And they got Vinny Jones.
Yeah.
And Vinny Jones and the Lou Ferrigno look like were playing brothers from New York.
Yeah.
And it's like Vinny Jones is talking in the British accent, and of course, the Dominic, not our Dominic.
Right.
Was talking to Lou Ferrigno from Flatbush.
Hey, man, listen, suspension of disbelief at this level,
Your brother not only became a vampire, became British.
There you go.
While fighting in the Gulf War.
Hey.
So it's in post-production. When's Megalodon going to air on the
What
sci-fi?
is Megalodon going
What
to air?
is Megalodon?
Tell us.
Megalodon. Well, first of all, it's from Asylum. It'll be on Sci-Fi Channel this summer in late July or early August.
Early August?
Early. Still waking up. But it's director James Thomas and his partner Canyon Prince. They did just an amazing job. We filmed it down at the SS Lean Victory in San Pedro. And we're looking at a 150-foot shark.
Wow.
I play Captain Streeper with one of my right-hand men, Burkhead Luke Fattorusso.
Wow, you're the captain, huh?
I am the captain, and we are bringing Michael Madsen, the Admiral, along on his last journey. This is going to be it. We're going to take a nice little surveillance around the Pacific. Nothing.
On his way to retirement or rehab.
Nothing to worry about. But, of course, as sci-fi films and asylum films, we'll start with, we had the Russians, they're trying to tap into the Southern Pacific Communications cable down deep in the Pacific Ocean.
Boo! And then while they're in the Marianas Trench, they wake up the tunnel monster.
They wake up a monster.
Damn it.
And here we start with, the drama of not only the Russians, but the Americans, and a big 150-foot shark. And it's really exciting. Amazing cast. That's what we're really excited about it. I mean, again, Asylum sometimes gets a little campy and a little fun, but the one thing I love about this script is that James Thomas was really adamant about making it legit,
Wow.
and really actually having some balls to it, to where it literally was good characters, good performances, and good writing. So we're really excited about it, and I can't wait for everybody to see it there.
Was it fun doing a movie from a shark movie for the Sharknado Factory?
I was in heaven because, I mean, the whole thing is, as much as we love, especially as Italians, right? We love The Sopranos. We love doing, detectives and everything else. At the same time, we grew up on Harrison Ford,
Yeah.
or I did. I mean, Luke's much younger.
He can still grow up on Harrison Ford.
He still grew up on
It's not like
Harrison.
TBS doesn't show the movies.
But,
the good stuff.
the whole dream was to do action, and there's a lot of action to this. The actor that I play opposite, Ego Makitas, we have such a stunt. See, I almost died, to be honest. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I took a kick. He was a part of Russian Special Forces. And we went
real life?
In real life.
Wow.
He is straight out of Central Casting, this guy. The presence, I can't even tell you. I mean, literally comparable to like a Schwarzenegger. He's about 6'5". He's taller than I am. And just the total Russian, the cheekbones and everything else.
Absolutely.
But just an amazing talent, really exciting from start to finish. And I hope with the VFX and everything, we get to finally meet our co-star, the Megalodon. They do a really good job with it there. So.
Well, I love the Asylum posters. I mean, I could look at the posters all day,
Yes. I mean, and that's the thing, is that they want to sell that. But again, we're really confident that this is also going to be, really entertaining from start to finish, and not just about, with the old Atari, they used to have the old covers where they used to have all, the entertainment, and then you turn on the game and you're like, what the hell's this?
Remember the Spider-Man game? John Romita Sr. drew it, the box.
Yeah.
It was just this beautiful Spider-Man fighting Green Goblin,
Right.
and then it was a red X versus a purple X.
Yeah, and then that's it. But, but you're sold on the box sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? So.
That's funny.
But yeah. We're really excited. Luke did just an amazing job. We were so happy to work with Michael Madsen. Amazing balanced cast, diversity, strong women. We've got Carolyn Harris. We've got Elizabeth Crone and Paulina Laurent, who's actually doing their most recent little blockbuster, Triassic World. Which
Triassic World.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Paulina Laurent. Okay.
Yes. And these are all original ideas, of course.
Wow, of course.
Yeah, just the timing worked out.
I was the only guy who got to go to the premiere of Peter Berg's Battleship and Thunder 11 at the editor's house.
Wow.
Thunder 11, it was called American Battleship until Universal sued. Sci-Fi is a division of Universal.
You're on NBC, right? Yeah.
And
The Parker Brothers game.
They actually turned around and sued American Battleship, which was on their own Sci-Fi channel, and they changed it to American Warship.
Yeah.
And they held it at the, and it was a bunch of Asylum guys, and they held it at the editor's house. Editor had a beautiful house.
Yeah.
His daughter made this cake that said American Battleship, and it was X'd out, and it said American Warship.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I remember, because I was invited to at the first one, you're drinking booze, you're eating high-class food next to Liam Neeson.
Yes.
At the American Battleship party, I stopped and grabbed some pizza on the way, and I grabbed some Pizza Hut pizza.
Yeah.
And all these Asylum guys are running over. Is that really pizza?
Hey, we're definitely on a budget. We don't have the $50 million that Warner Brothers has with Jason Statham, but at the same time, the one great thing, especially
You are the poor man's Jason Statham, sir, and we love you.
Jason Statham, but the one great thing, especially with Italians, where we come from, the work ethic is that we have a lot of heart and a lot of passion, and so the entire crew. We're doing about Luke and I, literally like about 10 to 15 pages a day, which. Really heavy clip.
Off book?
That's a lot, man.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. We had you had no choice. But they were really, they were sort of flexible. If you mean,
Would they let you ad lib?
yes, yeah. I mean, if you had to, but at the same time, this director James Thomas, I can't say enough about him, and I know Luke will certainly agree in that. Even though we had so many pages, he kept that energy up, and you wanted to work hard for him. You wanted to work hard for Canyon Prince and also the rest of the supporting cast, because everybody showed up and they were ready to go. And not to mention, at the end of the day, the one great thing with acting is it's to make you look good. So if you want to half-ass it, you go right ahead. But you're gonna have a crap product,
Oh, so we're back with Dominic Pace and Luke Fattorusso, right?
That's right, you nailed it.
Wow, very good.
Nice, I can
I
appreciate
mean,
that.
Luke Fattorusso.
You're originally from Long Island?
I'm
From
originally
Long Island.
Yep, Huntington Station. When I was 9 years old, we moved to Indiana, so I'm a nice mix of Midwestern and New York there. So.
You ever go to the Amityville Horror House?
No, me too.
How about you, Dom? Of course you did.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm a fan of movie locations there to the nth degree.
And there was the only movie that showed you Lois Lane's breasts.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. You can't. That's the
I'm there.
price of
I'm leaving
admission
right now.
Lois Lane starring with Thanos' father.
But now with Amityville, now there's the True House, right, where it occurred,
Yes.
right, which is Jersey, is it?
Yeah, very
And
good.
then-
All Tom's River.
And then they filmed it in Long Island, I believe.
Ooh.
Yeah. So And then the one other priceless thing with Jersey was, of course, the original Camp Crystal Lake, which
Very good. Yeah.
of course.
Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
Now, is it still there, or do they bulldoze it?
No, it's hilarious because it's a kids Boy Scout camp,
Wow.
and you don't want to mess with those good old boys in the middle of the country, even though it's Jersey, where there's signs all around saying please do not trespass. They don't want any freak goth people showing up, and God forbid any psychos. So I mean, it's justified, but you have to ask for permission to go.
Wow.
They just now started embracing, because when the film first came out, they were actually embarrassed to a certain extent. That's why they ended up filming down in Georgia, and then they brought Crystal Lake up to Vancouver and over
Wow.
to
Yeah, yeah.
up into Santa Clarita, because I think they didn't want this to be sort of a tourist trap. And have all these locals be known for a horror film.
If you look at like Michigan, if you look in Seattle where they shot Northern Exposure, they took this beautiful little town, and now it's just a graveyard to a dead TV series.
Yeah, exactly.
know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what it is. But it's a catch-22 because also it brings the economy there too.
I watched Betsy Palmer, her last public appearance. Betsy Palmer, who played Mrs. Voorhees.
Amazing.
She said, "Would you see a lady to her car?" Because it was off of Hollywood Boulevard.
I can't believe you met her. I'm so upset that I never did.
But I walk her to the car, and I'm thinking, yeah, of course. I mean, a sweet older lady. So I'm walking her to a car,
Yeah.
and then some pierced leather guys just stepped out of the shadows. One girl and two guys. And I thought, oh, God, I'm going to have to beat up two people. They're going to try and mug Mrs. Voorhees. And then they look at her, and the girl, black lipstick, Hollywood Boulevard, scary looking, and she goes, Are you Mrs. Voorhees? And I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. They're just on the outside surface.
Because I thought I was going to have to fight. And the guys were pretty scary looking. I thought I was going to have to fight for Betsy Palmer's honor.
That's a good example, though, of, again, I think Paramount did it for a very low budget. And,
It was a negative pickup.
And the same thing is...
Steve, he's a big TV director now. Steve, God. He directed 2 and 3.
Yeah.
He was a ski bum. He threw money in the first one.
Yeah.
And he told me they made the Friday the 13th block of wood.
Yeah.
And the original logo was the Friday the 13th logo shattering the glass.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
Steve Miner, who went on to direct the sequels, and he directed House, did a lot of episodics. But what he said, he did Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken.
Yeah.
He did a great movie called Warlock. But he said they took that reel.
Yeah.
All they knew was it was going to be a Halloween ripoff. The glass breaking the chunk of wood of Friday the 13th breaking the glass, original trailer.
Sure.
They took that to AFM. And all these B-movie producers who were looking at the figures Halloween was doing just whipped out their checkbooks and threw money at them.
There you go.
And then suddenly he said, we had 6 weeks to give them a Friday the 13th.
Yeah. But one of the things, the point I want to bring out was just Betsy Palmer. Sometimes those performances can supersede the budget, and that's what we're hoping with Megalodon as well. Just in terms of the, of course, the VFX. They don't have the 50 gazillion, $1 million, but at the same time, if you have those performances, which I believe we do, just like with Betsy, she set the pace for that series.
She was embarrassed as hell that people were going to.
Yeah.
She told me, she goes, and once she found out we weren't being mugged, she turned to me and said, "The story of my life, this damn movie haunts my ass."
Which it always amazes me, though, because even with Carrie Fisher and even with Alec Guinness, it's like, listen, I also embrace it. So many people dream of getting to that level. Absolutely. And now, all of a sudden now you're going to be like, oh, play it down. I get it. But, you need to look at the big picture of Los Angeles of how many people would die to play an iconic character and just be remembered for anything. And unfortunately, the thing with actors is that even if you get that 15 minutes...
It's like, oh, you're that guy? Did I go to high school with you? Yeah, that's the weird,
But I try to defend, like they were messing around. This one guy from American Pie is now a waiter, and...
you leave him alone,
again...
He's not hurting anybody.
Right, but you just need to appreciate that, even getting 15 minutes at that major league level is really admirable.
He was in the clouds, man. Yeah. I could see it for like a Clinton Spilsbury.
Yeah.
Clinton Spilsbury was one of the great, terrible stories of all time.
Yeah.
He got cast in the 80s, the same year as Raiders of the Lost Ark came out, and Superman 2. He was the Lone Ranger.
Okay.
It was the worst Lone Ranger movie. They cast him because of his look. Couldn't act worth a lick.
Yeah.
they had to get one of the famous brothers, not the Carradines, the other famous brothers. It'll come to me in a minute.
So
They had to get, but it's the story is not.
Yeah.
It's a classic story where the guy couldn't act. Clinton Spilsbury could not act.
Yeah.
So what happened is he's in this. William Fraker, a famous cinematographer, directed this movie.
Yeah.
Michael Horse, who went on to become the deputy on Twin Peaks, which he's best known for, played Tonto. Spilsbury couldn't act, and they had to get a famous. It'll come to me. A famous actor had to dub his voice.
Sure.
And
it was that bad?
it was that bad. The Legend of the Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
It was one of the movies that bankrupted MGM.
God, man. Yeah.
And they cast a guy with no acting experience. He was terrible in the movie. He went back to being a waiter in New York. It's Google his name because, but the guy from American Pie, Lee Malone, he probably had some problems that laid him low, you know.
No, well, again, I mean, like I said, you guys, we've all been in the business, you know, for a substantial amount of time. And Luke, like I said, is just coming up the ranks. But again, the most important thing about longevity is to just be proud of those little victories.
Pace yourself, yeah.
Pace yourself, exactly. And also just to be grateful and not, you know, come into society to where, unless you're an A-list. This is the only business, and I tell people this is the only business that you're deemed a failure unless you're a part of the top 1%. If you were to take teachers, police officers, firefighters, and ask them who are asking you the same question, so what have you done lately? It's like, what have you done lately? Are you nationally or internationally recognized?
Yeah.
So to appreciate those people, especially from the 80s, which is our beloved era there, you know?
If you have 5 movies on Amazon Prime, shut the hell up. You're okay, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes it's enough for someone to, to have their little 15 minutes. They do it for a little bit.
He did American Pie. That was a franchise. Leave the guy alone, you know?
He's still getting come up to.
Yeah.
But the other thing, too, is like, we had an amazing camaraderie. Luke was absolutely amazing, and so many of the actors were incredible. And the other thing is, the reason you're doing this is not for the fame, you know? And as much as
It's a shark movie, Dom. Did you have a good time?
we had an amazing
That's
time.
the damn thing about it. You're playing the captain in a shark
I
movie,
had
for
so
God's
much-
sake.
I mean, every single day, and it's like, that's the thing is just, you got to enjoy these moments along the way.
Yeah.
Because as much as, we'd all love to get to the podium with that golden statuette, you also, we did it because we love it. And especially as boys, I don't care if I'm being narrow-minded here.
You're a New Yorker.
I'm
It's
a New
okay.
Yorker. We
And
grew
then
up,
Italian.
we were playing in the backyard, cops and robbers, and
Yeah.
this was the dream to be
Oh,
able
great.
to.
The Italian guy's always the robber.
Absolutely.
And more realistic than an Italian cop, I guess.
No, we'll
Luke,
take it.
Luke, did you know Dominic before you got this role?
No. We met on set the first
Listen
day.
to this man. This man is very wise.
How did the audition process go?
Yeah, talk about that.
When you came aboard.
Yeah.
You
sure.
go to the asylum in Santa Monica now rather than their beautiful digs in Burbank?
I did, yeah. The audition for this one was in their new digs, which are amazing. But
Los Feliz Boulevard.
Which the one at Los Feliz Boulevard, you see they added like 4 stories to it before it's crushed by a meteor in Geo Disaster.
No way.
A great
that's
Thunder
cool.
11 movie.
Oh, I gotta see it.
I love it.
Yeah.
But
I went to the premiere and Thunder whispers, that's the Asylum's new offices.
I'm so glad they did that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
But I had known Scotty Mullen, the casting director, for a few years before that. I had gone to their old studio and seen him a couple times. And then he actually called me in for this and was pretty excited about it. And when I first auditioned, I really didn't know too much about the project other than the basic parts of it. I didn't know who was involved, where it was going to be, anything like that. But he seemed really excited, so I went in, gave it my best, and switched. They had me read for a different role, kind of switched things around.
Oh, that's exciting. That means they
Very
like you.
exciting.
They don't know where to
know,
put you.
Exactly. Anytime
That can be
you get
bad
that.
too, though, because if you're
It can be bad, but I knew with Scotty, being there, and I didn't know James Thomas, the director, amazing director.
What has he done?
so
Let me
blessed to
Google
work
him.
with him.
I think a couple other Asylum films, but he has a production company. I think it's called Two Guys in a Film with a gentleman, another journeyman, Canyon Prince, who was originally an actor, but now
King and Prince is a great name. It sounds
Yeah,
fake, but it's
yeah,
great.
Yeah, no, it's real, and but just an amazing producer, amazing team, and like I said, there's nothing that I love more than having that positive, incredible, enthusiastic energy on set and passionate energy. Because again, that you bring that out in your performance. It's hard.
Wow.
It's hard not to. Some directors again, they're kind of laid back. I just recently worked with one where they're chill and just kind of let's go for another one. Let's see see where we are with that. But it was just the fact that we were on such a heavy pace due to budget. It brought our performances to the next level, and that's what I'm really excited to show everybody with this. But Luke and I, we had some of these dream we can't give too much away, but just some of these fun action sequences where, it's just all these little things that we dreamt of as children to where we were able to play
You're
those things
fighting
out.
a giant shark.
Yeah,
Why can't you?
fight a giant shark.
You're going to Long Beach every day to fight an invisible shark.
And the set that we were on was unbelievable to arrive every day.
It kind of brought us in that world too, because
You're in the outfit, right? You're in the fighting.
in the outfit, and this is a merchant marine ship, that was in World War II, Vietnam, Korea,
Wow.
and then you had some of the old guys that were the veterans that were walking around telling old stories and everything else. And most importantly, the other thing too that made you appreciate, the role and also the setting was just understanding that the real, the U.S. Navy doesn't really occur to you as an actor, especially in the middle of Hollywood, of how these guys really are isolated, in the middle of nowhere, and actually the fear of God forbid you get hit, and you're stranded out there, and it just, again, I mean, God bless these guys with the PTSD and everything else, to where any way we can help them as a country is just anything. You put your heart out to them, because when you think of that psychology, as far as being out in the middle of nowhere and fighting for our country, it's just these are some brave men.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Dom spoke earlier about the action scenes and how much of a dream it was just to be on set, and there's scenes you'll see in the movie where we're just giving it our all, and not only the fight scenes where Dominic actually was afraid for his life because of how real the scene got.
You got kicked by a Russian
Kicked by
Spetsnaz?
a special, yeah.
Wow.
So
A Spetsnaz kicked you.
we had a really amazing stunt coordinator. His name was Mario Roca, and
Not that amazing if you got kicked for real.
yeah. Right. Well, it wasn't him. It was just that Ego and I really were in the moment, and they gave me a chest pad. But even looking back on it, to take this hit to the chest,
You took some impact. That's why you
Yeah.
had that pad.
Well, the problem was it didn't hit. It hit my neck.
Right.
Oh man!
And
Oh, he missed the
he
pad.
missed the pad, but he
Yeesh.
also went.
That's how Houdini died.
Yeah, but and he also went full throttle. And I just, I took a second. I didn't, want to be any more of a baby than I had to be. But
You're a
thankfully-
New Yorker.
Yeah,
an
you're a
Italian.
big dude. Now this guy was bigger than you.
He's bigger than me.
Bigger than Dom.
It was almost between you
Was he
and
bigger
Pat.
than me?
He's bigger than Pat. He's
Wow.
the same size as Pat.
Yeah.
Ego Makitas, you got to look up his picture. I mean, again, just straight out of Central Casting. Not only just the presence, but also the talent as well.
Oh, you can take this pussy.
Oh man, I'll tell
what he
you,
thought.
man.
That's
And
what he
even his backstory too was Hollywood, to where just kind of.
Did he look at you and say, I will crush you?
So when you took that hit, what'd you fall on? What did you?
It wasn't a
Luke.
fall. I pushed
Right-hand
back.
yeah.
I pushed back against the wall, but I just knew that my neck was going to start swelling up.
Oh, no.
And I was just scared in terms of the fact that it was going to close up to a point where we might have had a situation. But like I said, thank God we still went on. First time ever, even playing football, that we gave so much that you always see it in movies where you throw up after giving so much, but they wanted to get one of these wide shots, just these above head ones.
Yeah.
And again, you're only cheating yourself if you half-ass it. So both of us, even with that scare, wanted to go at it so in such an intense manner that we did. But it was the first time ever, even after triple sessions of football, that I ever threw up because we went at it so hard.
I threw up in gym class just from the mile run.
Yeah.
Didn't take much for me.
I just saw Mr. Woodcock. Wasn't that great?
It was a better idea than a movie. I love
Billy Bob.
Billy Bob is great in it, and we loved the
Sean
kid
William
from
Scott.
Sean William Scott. We worked with him on Rundown. It was very like my brother and I. Sean William Scott started out working in a movie theater.
Oh, no kidding.
And
It's Minnesota, right? Yeah.
Yeah, incredibly nice kid. You know, I love that they have the Russian girls named Popov.
Yes.
Amy Stolte.
Oh, she was amazing. Yeah. Real solid.
She's
talent.
from Buffalo, it says.
Yeah, she looks like Kate Blanchett.
But she plays a Russian in the movie?
Amazing accent.
Wow. And Popov is the name they came up with.
Yeah. She was amazing, and like I said, I was really happy with also the balance that he gave to all the actors. We talk about that in terms of again, and I don't mind speaking on it as far as emasculating men, and it's just so great to see not only strong women but also strong men, and we were so excited about that James was able to put that in for us there. So
I love that James and Kenyon Prince, no matter what they do, Hollywood rips them off.
yeah.
They make Tomb Invader.
Yeah.
Hollywood threw Tomb Raider at them.
Hey,
That's right. You power through it.
Yeah, somehow they persevered.
James and Canyon came first without question. There.
Yeah, the forefront.
They
Yeah.
appreciate loyalty, boys, especially for New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Digging in.
This is my first time doing one of these, so hopefully, I mean, I don't know how the studio actually takes to that, you know.
How long a shoot was it?
We were,
And there have been 6 Sharknadoes, man.
we did 100 pages in 8 days,
Wow.
and then they went down
It's
to
a lot of script,
there's
man.
a lot of script, a lot of
Especially for
dialogue.
Dominic,
But like I said, the most important thing, and that's why I'm so excited, was that it was a good story. They didn't give me a chainsaw with a machine gun.
But you do
know?
the whole sweaty. Oh my God!
Yeah.
You do a lot of that, right?
This guy, you
Well-
see his intensity. That's coming onto set. You know, like I said, we didn't know each other before coming onto set. And I just remember my first day, didn't know what to expect, and the first scene I was in with Dominic, I knew exactly the level that I was going to have to come to because the intensity and the passion this guy brings was unbelievable.
Thanks.
No, you're
Yeah.
one of our favorite guests, and we're so happy you came back because of the shark
Oh, you
movie.
kidding
I
me?
mean,
No, please. Like I said, I mean, and again, it's a compliment to them. It's a compliment to the cast because, again, it's not. I mean, I understand it sometimes. The reputation that sometimes the studio gets is kind of like tongue in cheek, but I can't say enough about the fact that they kept this grounded. And it really actually does deal with some genuine relationships. My second in command, Carolyn Harris, really talented African-American actress, young. She's got an amazing future ahead of her. But again, it was kind of symbolic in terms she's a young, talented, not only commander, but also a performer. And through the movie, I'm sort of counseling her and giving her encouragement, but at the same
Really?
time with firm strength. And she's stepping up to the challenge. And again, I can't say enough about, again, that I was so grateful that we had this dialogue as opposed to just making it popcorny and cheesy and just selling it for that amazing poster that they did.
I love how everyone's commander, lieutenant.
Oh, yeah.
Poor Luke is bunkhead.
So there's the heavy dialogue
Yeah.
along with the physical demand for the physical part of it.
And like I said, I mean, that's the thing. That's why we're kind of doing a push on this because it was like, wow. I mean, after the 8th day, we're sitting there and like, God, we put forth a really good project. And the other thing, my grandfather was 4th Infantry. All these East Coasters, we had a lot of World War II connections, of course. So it was another thing, too, in order to do it in honor of our military, in honor of our Navy, to give that extra push. And this was the one time to where at certain times where it did get cliche, it was such a dream come true because, again, as a guy, you dream of holding that gun or, with the war cry, or you dream of making that, Bill Pullman speech from Independence Day,
Yeah.
And it's like I got that moment after, years of detective and cops and everything else. It's like finally, I get to let the monster out, and it was so refreshing each and every day.
And one of the, who was it? One of the guys, I think it was, oh my God, who directed Independence Day? I'm slipping today.
It was the German.
Roland Emmerich.
Roland
Thank
Emmerich,
you.
yeah.
Roland Emmerich told me that the reaction shots, that speech, were shot to be, when they realized how much impact that speech had that Bill Pullman gives.
Man.
And he said that they actually reshot some of the more choked up reactions, watching the speech being given. And
No, I mean it's every actor's dream come true to do that finally, and I know Luke will have that throughout his career. But for me, it was like after 25 years to finally have this, and they gave me my moment. And they actually, what was really cool about it was they turned on the speaker for the boat.
wow.
So the whole entire, so even like you got the Italians from San Pedro, like shut the hell up! I'm just like we're gonna take
A real Italian won't say hell up.
Play it on the set.
Yes, yeah. But we got to use it and work with some of the firearms on the.
Oh,
ship
did
as
you
well.
really?
Oh, it was great. It was
You
great.
did you get to shoot the shark?
I'll give away.
Screw you. Tell us a little bit.
God, it gets intense. I mean, we're on a ship, and I mean, you put 2 and 2 together. It's it definitely gets.
You're
some
both
action.
firing guns?
Oh,
How
yeah.
many of them?
Firing some guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get a fully auto or what? Machine guns?
Burke had, Luke did. The captain, from what I understand, believe it or not, doesn't necessarily carry a firearm on the
What?
ship. From what I understand,
Yeah?
he always had his right-hand man. Again, Scott Rowe, who did an amazing job. He plays Jensen, right? Jameson, I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
Jameson, and he was a real Navy SEAL, and he was telling some stories on set.
Yeah.
God bless all these guys who even try to get to become a member of the Navy SEALs. I cannot imagine.
So he was also a good tech and advisor
Oh,
as
yeah.
far
Yes.
as all that stuff.
That was huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One of the most important things for us was, the hooyah and the salute, because again, in honor of these men who give their lives, and we're sitting on a set being pampered. Hey, can I get you a bottled water? Or can I get you we want to make sure we got these things right, and we try to be as thorough as possible. I had a friend of mine, John Martin, over in Delaware, and he's a dear friend of the family's and served in the Navy, and I was calling him every now and then can just to kind of get the technical aspect. Because again, even though it's a low budget, it's like you want to make sure that we are being passionate about this in regards to respecting our men and armed forces there. Men and women, forgive me.
And James Thomas, you'll get in his credits. He started out as a PA on Who Wants to Be a Superhero in Trailer Park of Terror. That's amazing rise.
Yeah, and one of the great things, again, about the journey, and Luke's going to experience this too over the next, 20 years or so, is to stay, you stay grounded with some of these odd jobs, You stay humble with some of these, things that just get you by, because then when you get that opportunity, it's amazing on how you want to give even more of your performance and more to the audience because you've waited so long,
Did you get to, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Did you get to talk about Tarantino with Michael Madsen?
I did, yeah. I had a little bit, and as a matter of fact, he was
Because Captain Admiral, man.
Yeah. He was referencing him to James too, which I overheard saying on how Tarantino pulls from everyone because they had all these names of shots that I never heard it this much. Be like, all right, you want to pull the Kubrick here, and we had an amazing DP. Dante, forgive me,
Freddie.
Yeah, Dante York, absolutely amazing. But
good job, Luke.
Hi, Gene.
Yeah.
Gene Coulter is watching.
Gene Coulter.
Hey, Gene, how are
Gene
you?
is eaten Gene blows herself up to prevent herself from being eaten by the shark in Jaws 2. It's fitting our Jaws week, our shark week theme.
She's the most baddest female stunt woman who have ever lived.
Oh, God bless them all. As a matter of fact, with this stunt scene, that was the one thing I wanted to say also, was that it gave me so much respect for real stuntmen. For the last 2 years, I've been approaching coordinators and saying, hey, you know what, I can take a hit. I've taken, shots on Prison Break and NCIS and John-Claude Van Johnson. But at the same time, after doing this scene, I will be the first not only to bow down to where I don't want to, I want them to take front stage, but also if anyone ever gets an award, and I encourage other actors as well, to bring up your stunt double, because these guys, these men and women, literally sacrifice their life. And, they had it over in Atlanta with Walking Dead, sadly enough, about 3 months ago.
Deadpool 2 as well.
Yeah.
Deadpool.
The movie's dedicated to the stunt woman who got killed.
There was a certain maneuver with a pipe that I just said, you know what, I will never, ever ask a coordinator again if I can be part of their team. And I know it's a tight click, but it just gave me that much more respect to literally be in the front line and say, it's amazing. Even though they get an amazing paycheck, I mean, God bless them for putting their lives on the line,
You're one of the top billed in this. Congratulations. Was that exciting?
Well,
I was on it.
When I saw that little sample, the trailer,
Yeah.
whose name comes on first?
Yeah.
Dominic Pace.
I mean, the one thing, too, and I was telling Luke, because, again, it's such a bright career ahead of this kid, but he was so passionate every single day, was just that, I mean, this took me 25 years just to do this, to have my first starring role. And the one thing is that this business is not easy for anyone. So the one thing, I mean, we respect all journeys, but it's also when you get that opportunity, I mean, to really embrace it. And I did, and that's why, again, we're going on this nice little campaign the next couple months.
I'm so glad you are, and thank you for starting it here, by the way.
Oh, please, absolutely, absolutely. It's a dream come true, and I told James, it's funny, and he kept reassuring me and saying, dude, you're knocking it out of the park.
Wow.
But I just said, you have no idea how much this means to me, because again, as Italians too, you drop into your own stereotype, and again, I don't mind it, to be honest. I don't mind the mob guy, I don't mind the cop, I don't mind the guard, the bouncer.
You'll never look for work as long as those cliches are out there.
Oh, absolutely, and I don't mind, but also, we all want to step into that powerful role. I mean, and again, there's a great cry for women right now to step into that powerful role as well, and they deserve it just as much. But even again, these small little stereotypes, even for ego with the Russians, it's like it's nice for each and every one of us to be able to stand on our own 2 feet, no matter what the budget, And again, I mean, that's a great thing now with this era of new media, to where it doesn't need to be $100 million Lucas. As a matter of fact, what we're seeing right now, everything at that level is so politically correct that it's almost better to be at this level.
Because you can be a little more raw, you can be a little gorier, you can be a little more,
a little more, honest with your art. As an artist, it's very refreshing.
And if you follow the asylum paradigm, you fight the Russians, and then you team up with the Russians to battle the shark.
Absolutely.
There we go. I know my asylum.
But that's
You hear that, David? You hear that?
That's not the storyline, but yes.
That doesn't happen? Sorry, boys.
Wait till the movie's
Wait for the
out,
movie.
Patrick.
I know my asylum. That's what happens.
Yeah, wait for the movie. But no, really good story ahead, and we're really excited about it there.
Wow, I'm so proud. Congratulations. How did it feel to be running around in the whites and the hat and all that.
Well, it wasn't the white. It was just the navy.
you weren't-
It was the camouflage.
Okay, cool.
But going back to Madsen, just some great conversations. I not only being a fan of movie locations, but also movie props. There's a page on Facebook where these props go for like a tremendous amount of money.
Oh, they're ridiculous, man.
Ridiculous. I mean,
back in the 90s, remember me and Kenny from the comic book store? We would get props. You know, he'd get the spear from the Predator, and we'd get them cheap and sell them.
If you
make
did-
a little profit.
oh my! So hold on to them, even for actors too.
If you
bring
did Star Trek, they would pat you down before you even went back. They're like,
Yes.
everyone line up and jump up and down. We want to make sure
Just
nobody's
for the
going to phase
jingles.
it.
So, so when we had some downtime, I asked Michael if he saved anything, and he still has his Mr. Blonde suit. Which I mean, to me, I that's got to be at least I'd say $100,000.
That's worth some money.
It's got especially it's Tarantino.
What
iconic
about
piece.
his sword from
Kill
Kill
Bill.
Bill? Yeah.
Oh no!
He sold it.
I don't know. Yeah, no, he said he,
In the movie, he sold it.
the one thing with Virginia Madsen, I know he
Oh,
said
she's
that
adorable. I interviewed her for Wonder Woman and Hunting in Connecticut.
So down to earth.
Adorable.
Yeah, I had the privilege of meeting her about 10 years ago, right after she did Sideways. And I had this priceless experience where she was giving me advice on where to go up in that area where they filmed, like just little,
On the way to Seattle, man. You're wine country,
near Salvang and San Luis Obispo.
Anderson's pea soup, baby.
Oh, yes, you can't beat
Only
it.
thing in the area I could afford.
It's the only thing. They got that Monte Cristo sandwich there. The
Oh my God.
with the powdered sugar and
The Monte Cristo, which is.
Too good for the common riffraff.
yes.
But if you have the pea soup with the Monte Cristo, it's
Oh,
amazing.
you can't beat it. Yeah. But that 5 route it's not entertaining. I mean, of course, you're going in and out with the 101, but you can't beat that
You
route.
can, if you take the two, if you go along the coast, it's white knuckle time.
Yes.
If the fog rolls in while you're on the coastline, God help you because you'll never find your way. The 5 is half my family lives in Seattle, so take the 5. It's safer.
Sure, of course.
You won't pass Sea Lion Caves, and you won't go through the town
It's
that
the
first
scenic
spotted.
route, man.
You won't go through the town that first spotted Bigfoot, but you'll be a lot safer.
It's true, yeah. No, you got a straight shoot up there. But no, just going back to Madsen, it was just such an honor. In 1994, I was in college. I was at Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York. And they used to have the AV guy that would play a movie every weekend. And that was the first time I saw that infamous ear scene. And that was just when I was starting to go out on auditions. So to be on set with him now, to come full circle.
That scene, man.
And the other thing was, they wrote in, again, I can't give it away, but just a very sentimental moment between Michael and I. And the one thing I loved, even with Caroline and I as well, was when art imitates life, because it gives you such more of a base in terms of your performance. And
Do you get a romance in this?
no, thank God. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad because
Oh,
again,
you were afraid of a romantic scene?
I
Ever
just-
the Italian.
no, I would, but it didn't go in that direction. But it was more about the friendships and the
I
bonds.
didn't mean with Madsen. I meant with the.
No. And I'm glad they didn't, just out of respect to the Navy. I mean.
Oh, that's right. You can't have an affair with a.
Yeah. And that would have gone a completely different direction because again, the stakes are pretty high here. We're all
Operation Tailhook in the middle of Jaws.
Yeah, we're working with our, we're dealing with our life. It's so funny you say that with Jaws because I was going back to the OG stuff. What was the star's name? Was it Robert Shaw?
Robert Shaw.
Yeah, and just to watch that gritty old performance. And again, they didn't have an amazing budget either, did they?
No, well, the budget ballooned because the movie wasn't finished and the shark didn't work. So the again with all the shooting on sea, the budget kept going up and up and up.
Yeah.
And Zanuck and Brown and Universal made a last minute decision to back Spielberg.
Yeah.
Whereas on Jaws 2, they had a great director, John Hancock. John Hancock, who did the movie Weeds with Nick Nolte. Yeah. He did like Scare Jessica to Death, which is great.
Yeah.
He was working on a darker, depressing Jaws 2, which I would have, I would prefer to that than the one they made.
Sure, yeah.
And they fired him. You know what I mean? But they could have easily fired Spielberg. So
I remember 3 there. What was it with Dennis Quaid and?
we don't say anything bad with the director on tomorrow. Joe Alves, who built the shark and production designed Jaws and Jaws 2, directed Jaws 3D, and he's coming in to discuss it for the 35th anniversary tomorrow.
Tomorrow we interview. That's
Shark
what we're calling
Week,
it.
boys.
Shark Week here on the Jeff Sargent
We're not
Show.
effing around, man.
Great. And we're so honored to be your lead to that.
We're honored, boys. You're at the beginning of Shark Week.
Wow.
Big one. Yeah.
Very cool.
And the big one, of course, it's a 100-foot megalodon.
Luke, what were you gonna say about the shark there?
Oh, just about. I was just commenting on Jaws 2 being darker. I mean, sharks are scary enough already. So if you really put it in front of people and create whole panic. It's probably not the best idea.
In the original Jaws 2, the town is bankrupt. I mean, if you see the original script they were doing for it, the town is bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
Brody has PTSD. It would have been from the original film.
wow.
See, and instead they made them make a beat for beat remake of Jaws, which is kind of depressing.
Yeah, I never got into. I mean, I remember 3 used to air all the time when we were kids.
Right, and it
on
always
HBO.
looked blurry because they didn't bother fixing the 3D. I love Gene Coulter's scenes in Jaws 2. I thought that was one of the only scary movie scenes where the shark smashes into her boat.
Yeah.
And the water skier gets eaten right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I went back for just out of respect to the company, and I went back to see some Sharknado stuff. And I'll tell you, when you're in the right mood, I mean, those films are so much fun.
I think the first Sharknado is terrific. My friend Bill Boudel edited it.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Anthony Ferranti directed it because I worked with Anthony at Fangoria.
Oh wow!
Thunder 11. The week before it opened, Thunder 11 wrote it. My friend Thunder 11, a great guy.
Yeah.
Jeff and I were bumming around Burbank.
Yeah.
And we ran into Anthony.
We saw this guy standing on his texting on his phone.
He was jittery and he was skizzing.
And we're going, hey, we're trying to find Monster Palooza over
We're
here.
on our way to Monster Palooza.
And he
And he
turns
goes-
around and
And
goes,
it's Anthony.
Anthony! Oh, hey guys.
And Anthony goes, you want to
guys
see
wanna come
Sharknado?
inside?
And he showed us the 20-minute sizzle reel for Sharknado.
Get out of here.
And I looked at him.
He was editing all the CG
They
shark
were
stuff in
editing
the
all
LA
the stuff
River.
in there. And I looked at him and I go, this is going to be the biggest thing you ever worked on. And he goes, I hope that's not true. Yeah. And I go, no, Anthony, this is amazing. Yeah. Thunder 11 came, I did, because I did that book, the Egyptian had me do Jaws and Friends, where I would show the original Jaws and knockoffs with a bunch of guests.
Yes.
For Jaws, Thunder 11 came in, and I was walking Thunder to his car after the movie down Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
And a bus rolled by, and it had Sharknado on it. And again, because I'd seen the sizzle reel Anthony showed, I looked at Thunder, and I go, because, this is before it really, really came to a fever pitch and drowned out all the publicity for the $200 million Johnny Depp Lone Ranger. Yeah. I turned to Thunder and I go, this is going to be the biggest thing. This is what you're going to be known for. Almost like an Ed Wood moment. Yeah. And he goes, God, I hope that's not true. And I go, the same thing Anthony said. Yeah. And I go, no, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And the first Sharknado is almost, I've declared it, it reminds me of Louis Buñuel's discreet Class of the Bourgeoisie, where it feels like a fever dream this one guy is having.
Yes.
That sharks are raining down from the sky.
Right.
Because it's the only thing it can handle.
Right.
And there's a dreamlike quality to the first one. I'm not as crazy about all the sequels because it was all wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
But if you look at the first one.
Although that one cameo I love is Robert Hayes in the airplane.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get any better than that.
No, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
But that first, and I love that Bo Derek plays her mother.
Yeah.
Tara Reid's mother, because Bo Derek had her legs bitten off by Orca.
Yes.
And the Orca, the killer whale.
Oh yeah. No, I love all the cameo nods there.
Who did Sharktopus? It was Sharktopus.
Sharktopus was Roger Corman.
Oh, that was
the real OG of Asylum.
Yeah. The real of Asylum.
Yeah.
That was.
But same thing. I mean, he had some good stuff. Everything Jack Nicholson with, was it Little Shop of Horrors?
Little Shop of Horrors,
Yeah.
The Terror, and a bunch of. It was the
Bucket of
amazing.
Blood.
But the great thing is you can find a lot of those movies on Comet TV and on Tubi and on Shudder. And the Corman stuff has a real energy. He didn't have the money, so he had a lot of really good writing, really good directing, and fun performances.
And again, any respect to not only writers, but directors and actors who take it into their own hands, that don't make excuses and get it done regardless of whatever the circumstances
James
are.
Thomas stepped up with Kenyon Prince to make the best 150-foot shark movie he had on the budget he had.
Yes.
And with Asylum, these guys, the Asylum, Thunder 11 and Anthony Ferranti, these guys come in with a really great imagination. Yeah. I mean, Thunder 11, the best thing he ever did wasn't Sharknado. He did this Wizard of Oz type pastiche called Titan After Earth. Mm-hmm. And it's After Earth, and it's one of the best things he ever did. I mean,
there's something, sometimes I would imagine when the studio is funding your bill, I mean, there's no question, people, of course, have their passion to it. But there's got to be a lot more weight and passion on your shoulders when it sometimes is funded by yourself.
You've got 6 days to make a mockbuster.
Yeah.
David J. Latt needs a 150-foot shark in 6 days.
Yes.
You damn well better give him that 150-foot shark.
And the other thing, too, and Luke will agree, we finished every page each day.
Wow.
By hook or by crook.
How many pages a day? You were talking about this
we're
earlier.
about 15, and there was even one time we got up to about 20. This Dante York was amazing. So yeah, going back to that, even with Madsen, talking about how Tarantino pulled from everybody, but Dante, you'd hear him with James saying, "Hey, let's do the Spielberg over here, or let's try this Kubrick shot here." So not only were we going at a fast pace, but at the same time, Dante took the time to still do some quality shots. And he was showing me some of the playback, which again looks beautiful.
So when you're doing that heavy dialogue and stuff, you're studying the script and going, "Oh God, how am I going to remember this?" But the magic, it just comes to you when you're when really, the camera's rolling and you're doing that scene.
I would say, Luke, after so many years, that actors have two nightmares. One is that you're waiting tables and that you can't keep up with the 7-8 tables that you have. And then the other nightmare is going on stage and not knowing your lines. And for me, it's like the biggest fear, so I will stay up as long as I have to. The other thing is, too, is that, there's different ways over the years that I memorize.
Tell us about that. I'm curious about your process.
Well, a couple things. One in particular is to go to bed, let that be the last thing that you look at. And it's amazing when you wake up on how it literally will stick with you. The other thing, too, is, again, by rote, not by personality, because I did that one time, and all of a sudden you find yourself mimicking your inflections of the voice.
Really?
If you do a voice note where sometimes with the iPhone you go ahead and talk into it.
I've done that.
But you talk into it by rote. So you are not putting any emotion to it at all. And while you're in the car, go ahead and go through those lines. The one cool thing about good writing, thank God, it's a little scary when you get to medical and also technical because there's no way to improvise. But with good writing, it's a song, and it literally will come to you.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a big thing for me, and I haven't had the opportunity to really dive into such a meaty role as Dominic and being the captain. And we're doing 15 to 20 pages. Dominic's in 15 to 20 pages.
Don't run yourself down there, Lieutenant Private Bunkhead.
Ensign someday.
Ensign Bunkhead.
With the story, as Dominic was saying, that a big part of my memorization of the process as I'm going into a role is really understanding where the story is going in my scene. And a lot of times, if I fully understand what my character's view is on the situation and the story, and the writing is good, it'll just come to you. And being on set with Michael Madsen, and of course I don't have as long of watching him, but I still saw the Kill Bills, and Mr. Blonde performance was amazing. I went back and watched it after I was on set with him just to geek out a little bit.
Yeah.
And being on set, I only have a few lines in that scene, but I was a little bit concerned that looking him in the face and talking to him, that I would go blank and have that nightmare that Dominic was talking about. But it was amazing.
You can never watch Reservoir Dogs again.
Exactly.
Was this your biggest challenge as far as dialogue and memorizing? And
I think I've done some projects with more dialogue, but as far as such a professional and stacked cast and everything like that, I was excited to dive into something like this.
It's a lot different because you're delivering with all this action, right?
Yeah, that too.
The combination.
That was go ahead, Dominic.
No, I was going to say some of the challenging shots that we had together was the walk and talks because there was nothing to cut away from. Wow. So that's where it became challenging because every one of us had to be on point. The great thing is when you're doing over the OTS and you're punching in, you also have a little bit of confidence knowing that they can cut away from something,
right?
Or that they can go back, or we can go and they can chop it up. But the walk and talks, especially because we were on such a fast pace, we had to make sure that we got it right there.
I was doing a Starlog set visit for a movie De Niro was in, and there was a cool minor actor. You would know. I'm not going to use his name because I felt really bad for him. He had like 2 lines to De Niro, and he kept blowing the lines.
I heard that same story with Frank Vincent when he was with the legendary Anthony, who's from Yorba the Greek. What's his name?
Oh, Anthony Quinn.
Anthony Quinn. And, it does happen. And I'll be honest, I had that moment at a point with Madsen. You're watching Reservoir Dogs for so many times and also Kill Bill. And there was one time where I have to give a direct order as far as what's going on. And I turned into DiCaprio when he was doing his Howard Hughes.
Oh no!
When he kept, you know, we're going to do that. We're going to do this. We're going to do. And so anyhow,
way of the future. Way of the future.
Way of the future.
No, I mean, you know, but you know, if anything, though, looking back, it's also a respect to the people who came before you, and also their legendary, you know, iconic presence that they bring. Where, you know, you're able to get like that, but at the same time, sometimes it brings you to that level when they perform at such a professional level that you're able to up your performance as well.
De Niro tugged this guy by the lapel and says, "You and me are going to talk." And you heard him bitching him out in the hallway. And the female lead turns to the one of the other actors and says, "I'm so glad I'm not him."
No, I know.
I'm thinking, how can you watch a De Niro movie again after that experience?
I know. You make me think of Michael Landon, where I know with Little House on the Prairie, he was really thorough and really passionate about making sure that everybody, all the guest stars, knew their lines. Otherwise, you were gone. You know.
Oh.
But you know what? The interesting thing when I was talking to crew members from that era for another TV series.
Have you ever been up to that ranch?
I have.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's not too far from the. You're talking the Paramount Ranch.
No, Blue Sky Ranch.
Oh, Blue Sky.
Yeah,
listen, Antelope Valley, Blue Sky Movie Ranch. I chased Danny Trejo around in all fours in a low budget Predator ripoff, still not out yet, called The Prey.
That's awesome.
And what's great about Blue Sky is if you want to see the diner from Tom Cruise's War of the Worlds, or if you want to see all the big anti-aircraft tanks from Godzilla, they're all right there.
Wow.
They have so much. The studios, rather than bring it back to the back lot,
just leave it there.
they just left all their tanks there. So you feel like you're a Desert Storm.
Yeah.
You're in 100 degrees in the Antelope Valley looking at all these tanks and anti-missile things from the Roland Emmerich Godzilla and from Eastwood shot American Sniper there and a couple other things.
Yeah.
Iron Man was shot there. Did you know that?
No kidding.
With the tunnel I chased Danny Trejo.
Oh,
That's the one. That's
battle scene?
Yeah.
Afghanistan
That's what Robert Downey builds the Iron Man
It's
armor.
supposed to be
in.
Afghanistan. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. No. It's. I mean, now they do Westworld out there as well.
They totally do Westworld out there.
But I mean, you know, between Little House on the Prairie and also Bonanza, it was just such a part of childhood.
I was there for. I shot a day on Westworld, and that. Everything looked familiar. I was counting all the movies that I seen. Every Western, the little Mexican village with the fountain in the middle.
Yeah. Thornbirds was another classic.
Yeah. Thornbirds, wow, with Carrie, I want to say Snodgrass and Richard Chamberlain, and of course Rachel Ward.
And then DiCaprio did little pieces of the Inarritu piece up there as well.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, most of it was South America, I believe, but then they went to go do some coverage. Yeah, because I mean, you can go back to the 1700s in that area. You know?
And you could just walk on, right? It's all open.
No.
No. You can walk on the
something
Paramount.
different then.
You can walk on the Paramount Ranch where they shot Planet of the Apes and Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Yeah.
Because that's California property. It's in the landmark. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Blue Sky, there'll be guys sitting at the thing.
Yeah, but a great trip, Luke. I mean, just you know.
Yeah, because all the set there, they don't want anybody could go
Yeah,
up there
you
and
can go up there and
spray
go.
paint or
Yeah.
damage the place.
Yeah.
You know?
Although sadly, Michael Landon, he, you know, it's so ironic because all the remakes now, but he burned down or he deconstructed all of Little House because he never wanted it to be, ripped off there.
That's why they blew up the Little House on the Prairie at the last episode. And what? No, they did. They blew up the entire town.
You blew it up! Damn you!
What's interesting? Yeah, he blew up all the sets in the last episode.
I didn't know it was. Yeah, they blew it out. No, but not. I thought no, but not in the episode.
No, the last episode they blow everything up on camera. An evil land baron blows up the Little House on the Prairie. Look it up.
You're kidding me.
What's interesting?
I would like to see that on film. Did they had to film it when they did that.
What's
Landon was in good shape. I see him come out as Rambo. You know.
But the crew would walk through fire for Michael Landon.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, to this day, I was doing a book on a series, not Little House in the Prairie.
Yeah.
But they would bring up Michael Landon.
Yes.
And they said he would shoot an episode.
Yeah.
All the way to Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And they had one scene left that would be easy to do, and he would go, "Cut. We lost the light." Well, Michael, we lost the light.
Yeah.
And that way, he would carry the crew through Christmas and New Year's.
Wow.
And so those crews to this day love that man.
Yeah. I mean, and not to mention, I mean, just genuine respect for somebody who writes, directs, and stars in a series.
That's a hard job, John.
Oh my God.
Any one of those is a hard job, but he did all three of those on Little House on the Prairie and Highway to Heaven.
Yeah. Wow. And it's, it's so funny because now everything gets so damn trivial and political now. It is so refreshing sometimes to go back to those old shows, even Brady Bunch, and just as simple as it is. Even the Twilight Zone episodes, one of my favorites is called The Stop at Willoughby. I just love
Which, by the way, supposedly named after Willoughby Avenue, right above Hollywood.
You're
when
kidding
they
me.
were doing Twilight Zone in L.A.
That's amazing.
Oh man,
It's blocked from there.
That's where he thinks of the most calmness,
But I mean, just to go back to the simplicity now, it's almost an inspiration for any aspiring writers to just, I think it'd be nice if we all just scale the frig back right now and just go back to entertainment.
Rod Serling was all about character, and you get so little character. Now everybody's a political paradigm. Now everyone's a sexism paradigm.
Yes, and it just was so refreshing to just focus on story,
Yeah, you just want to see a superhero movie. You just want to see a sci-fi movie. You don't want a political argument. You know what?
And that's why we're so excited about this one too, because again, no agenda, just strength all across the board, respect for not only United States Navy but also the Russian Navy as well, to where it was done in just really good taste, Yeah.
But and then when you look at the old Twilight Zones, the ones shot here and the ones shot in New York, it's just amazing. I mean. He had 22 minutes, and it hits you in the gut still.
Well, the other thing, too, it makes you disrespect future directors and writers because when you watch it, you're like, oh, my God, that's Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Wait, that's totally
By the way, Poltergeist, the episode you're talking about is Little Girl Lost.
Yes.
I interviewed Richard Matheson Sr.
Okay.
And who wrote Little Girl Lost.
Okay.
And after Poltergeist came out,
did they get any residuals?
He mysteriously got the job to write Jaws 3D. And Spielberg's home base was Universal. So I think it was a nod to the man.
A nod, thank God.
Because he wrote Spielberg's first movie. He wrote Duel.
Yeah, because you hate hearing those stories. I know there was that one tragic thing with the Truman Show that was allegedly on Broadway, and Scott Rudin just kind of pulled it off. Allegedly, he was in the audience, and then that writer never got any credit or anything. And you're not going to go against the Paramount lawyers.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? I'm not gonna. Andrew. God, I'm blanking on his name. Bad morning for me, people. But Andrew, I'm going to say Andrew Niccol, who wrote Truman Show. It's a great script. If you read the script, it's an amazing script. Sure. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt over this guy who wrote the play you're talking about because he also wrote Gattaca, and he's a really smart writer.
Okay, good.
He wrote Simone, which is way ahead of its time too.
No, all respect. It's just like I said. Sometimes you never know with Hollywood.
Right. No, I'm with you.
It's like the comedians now. They get for stealing the material.
But the Robin Williams was a famous joke thief. I mean, Robin Williams. The send off to Johnny Carson, where he won an Emmy. Yeah, that was somebody's act. That was some. I remember this comedian would dine on that act for like 2 years. Wow. He won an Emmy doing this guy's routine, the riot routine on the Tonight Show.
Yeah, and that's there's a lot of. Oh, go ahead.
Well, when you win on it, that's something else. It changes it a little bit.
A friend of mine was a comedian, and he's gone now. But I remember at one of his shows, Williams came in. And the guy on stage said, I just want to say F you, Mork. And he threw the mic down. And all these comedians started applauding because they knew once Williams was there, if the jokes worked, they were leaving with him. Yeah.
No, it happens all the time now. The other thing, too, that they talk about is like, when these aspiring comedians are just trying to do their 10 minutes and then they'll get bumped for some of the big A-listers a lot over at Comedy Store and Laugh Factory,
Well, again, you heard what Jerry Seinfeld said. He can't play college campuses. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just everybody is so touchy about stuff. Even Seinfeld's routine is too dark for people.
Yeah, I don't even know how they do it now. Even comedic writers, I mean, it seems like everything is just kind of off limits right now,
Absolutely.
What a scary time to be a comedian. I never thought of that.
Wow. They make their bread and butter off of talking about the taboo, and you just cannot talk about taboo things.
I mean, an all-out witch hunt right now. But thankfully, Megalodon, well, nobody will be offended or marching.
Nobody's good.
We want shark rights or
nobody,
I want to know, because, obviously the Megalodon is a big computer generated, but do they have a physical, like a clay model that they scanned? Or
I mean, the one cool thing.
Do they have...
The one thing we're excited about, Luke and I, to be honest, is the fact that we have no idea how this thing's going to look on screen, and the fact that we were we felt so intimate with it in certain circumstances, certain scenes, but we literally have no idea. But I know.
So you're looking at that poster, you're looking at that mouth.
Yeah.
Of the shark, and then, so that's what you're visualizing?
Yeah,
They get terrified.
Yeah, creating.
When they got that green screen.
Well, we didn't see that poster until after,
that poster is first. So the poster was after the movie?
After the movie.
So
usually Asylum movies, the poster is first.
Yeah, no.
So basically, you guys had no idea about the shark or just basically the size of it.
No.
And
the one thing, I mean, again, it's just, like doing a sci-fi film in
you're
space.
You're using your own imagination to get to be terrified.
Yeah. And again, I mean, a lot of it was just on the adrenaline of going back to childhood, of just genuinely,
100%.
Wanting to be, cops and robbers. Look, you grew up in, where is it, South Bend?
Grew up very close to South Bend in Napanee, a very small Amish town, actually. Which
really?
Made moving from Long Island even funnier to me. When my family first moved, I remember just seeing the first horse and buggy, taking pictures of it, following it around, and then 6 years later, I'm just like honking and cursing that they get out of the way.
So you were just smacking him in the face with ice cream like a witness.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So close to South Bend. I'm very excited for everyone, that I grew up with to see something on a movie like this on TV. Just Megalodon. I have so many friends who are so many nerdy friends who are such fans of Megalodon to begin with, just the shark alone. And when I told them that I was part of this, especially with Michael Madsen and everything like that, and the Sharknado, say what you want, people love Sharknado.
I think the Sharknado franchise is great.
It's giant. Everyone, you say Sharknado, I don't know if I've ever met anyone who doesn't know Sharknado.
The new Deadpool makes reference to Sharknado.
Really? Yeah. That's
amazing.
And
what's?
He did. That's right.
Yeah. Asylum played that up big time there. No, I mean, they deserve all the success they get, and we're just so excited they'll have budgets to continue on with these. Scotty Mullen does an amazing job as a casting director over at Asylum there, and the one great thing over the years is to really appreciate casting directors who take the time with the actors and also are approachable. Some they get a little too pretentious as far as, why are you bothering me, and the whole class system as far as to the agent and the manager. But Scotty's so approachable that those rooms are really where you're able to thrive. So any actors listening, you're able to kind of take it to the next level because he gives you that space to feel confident.
Absolutely.
So Luke, when you went in audition, did they give you a piece of the actual script, or what did they give you to read?
They did give me a piece of the script. It was a different version than what was actually shot. And like I said, the character I actually auditioned for ended up being morphed a little bit and changed into combining a couple characters, it seemed. So I got a little bit of the script and was able to kind of dive in with like a juicy part of it. But then it was nice to get on set and be a completely different.
So how did you go about? I mean, you just went in, did it, okay, and then when did they call you?
Yeah, a week later. It was a pretty quick turnaround, to be honest. You auditioned and you got the script, and a week later, I was grateful that I didn't have as many pages as Dominic.
So the one thing with budgets too is, they gave us 4 days to prep. So you're looking at 100 pages.
Wow.
I will.
I mean, what, before you start shooting?
Yeah. And I can't.
Oh shit.
I mean, I'd be lying.
That's exciting though.
It's exciting, but
terrifying too.
I was terrified because I also took 4 days off and just really committed myself as best as I could. But, for literally when you're sitting there with the pages and being, that's where it was like a little overwhelming.
Yeah, when you see it, it's a big stack like this.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And you think it would be easy, you burn through it, you go through it. And this is why everything that Dominic has said about James Thomas, the director, is so true. Him keeping us all going and on the story. You're shooting so quickly. You have multiple things sometimes.
Run and gun. That's so exciting.
And out of order. It's amazing that James Thomas was able to keep us so, in the story and in the elevation of each moment.
It's sort of ironic in that, again, with major motion pictures, you're 2 or 3 days and, you take your time. But there's something to be said, almost like theater style, where people love, a lot of true actors love theater because you're staying alive for 2 hours. Absolutely. And it's the same thing where we're keeping the stakes up to that level, for so long, Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really exciting. And now, both of you, Luke and Dom, what's your favorite scene that each of you are in?
I had the opportunity to shoot a scene where I'm just running full sprint across the deck of this giant battleship, with a real, it was cold weapon, but a real weapon that I could feel the weight on my shoulders.
Wow.
And I'm throwing it behind me and sprinting and running up to the side and then running up. And that was my favorite scene, even though I'm not saying anything, just to like Dominic said, going back to when you're a kid and you're playing these games. And
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
My brothers and I are
four brothers?
Four
you have 5
brothers,
kids in your family? I'm 4 boys, 1 girl.
Really? No girls. No girls.
What was your ranking? Were you the baby or the middle?
I'm right in the middle. It's 2 years apart for the first 3, and then 7 years and 7
Welcome
years.
to neurosis, my friend.
Up in the middle.
Yeah, that's right. So I got to be a younger brother and an older brother.
Wow.
It prepared me for a lot. But that action scene, I mean, I could just remember calling my brothers actually and geeking out. My brother served in the Navy, and my brother's still in the Air Force right now. So this was actually a really awesome opportunity to call him and first when I got the parts to tell him all about it and get advice from him.
All right, smartass. 1, name your brother.
Jeremy.
Now, name his advice. How would he kill a 150-foot shark?
He had different advice for me. I'm not as capable as he is, so he had different moves that I would do on this big shark. No, he was just excited that I actually ever since I moved to Hollywood and knew that this was actually going to be a reality for me to be in the movie and TV business. I wanted to play a role where I could pay homage to him, and this was just scratching the surface of it, but it was very, very cool to call him, and like he said, with the hoo-yahs and the salutes and check in with him, and when I would go visit my brother, his buddies are so excited about it, his Navy buddies and everything, it's going to be awesome.
The one thing really exciting about Luke, and that I noticed, was every moment on set, he was just so ready to go. So he was there, nobody was looking for him, and it just, and again, that level of intensity brings, me, especially playing the captain, up to that next level when they have that level of passion. But just as far as the favorite scene, I think, again, it was just sort of a culmination of all the odd jobs that we have over the years.
Wow.
All the BS that we have to deal with and all the crap, whether it's through restaurants, through getting, thrown in the mud, through all the rejection and everything else. To do that hero speech, I just let it all out.
Wow. You got to be Bill Pullman, man.
It was every bitchy customer that I had to freaking deal with over the years.
By the way, I want that. Hold on. So, you're actually tearing up a little bit, aren't you?
No, because,
that's touching.
There's something very symbolic with the Megalodon in terms of all the BS that we have to deal with through life and through the struggle of just wanting to achieve your dream.
Wow.
And to have that connection. And they were able to... The only thing that was off about it was I literally had to do that on the first day. So I wasn't.
Wow! Oh, you give me a big hero speech the first day.
So it wasn't. It's so great when they can gradually bring you into that. But at the same time, I was waiting for that for 25 years.
Wow.
I mean, remember with Sean Astin? Where he gets up on in Rudy, where he gets up on the top of the thing, and he talks about the coach. We're gonna go inside, we're gonna go outside, and we're not gonna let him break it. So it's just that kind of passion to where it's something that you've always wanted to say on screen, and I think the whole joy of being an actor is what? I mean, we want to be alive, or we want to be remembered. And, for the first time, like I said, it was a really amazing script that they brought forth, and were able to do that there.
You're really humbled by that. I'm really touched to see how moved you are,
That's what I'm saying. Again, we wouldn't be here if it was just some meat and potatoes run and gun thing where they didn't put the care in. But it literally, combining fun, especially in this day and age now with all the social issues.
Upheaval, yeah.
Of just everything we have to deal with, whether it's from the left or from the right. But just to have something where, it's what was the origin to begin with as to why we want to perform was to entertain people.
Yes.
I don't want to tell you your politics. I don't want to sit here and be an advocate for anything.
Yeah.
I just want you to actually...
I just want to be entertained.
I want you to forget. The biggest compliment that we can get after this movie is that you forgot about your life for two hours and that you were genuinely enthralled, whether you're laughing with us or laughing, at us. But I believe it's going to be with us.
I could see that happening. All these people that went into your restaurant and your coworkers and stuff, and they're going to be watching TV and see this, and they're going, hey, that's that guy from the restaurant, man. That's that.
Oh man, so many nightmare horror stories. We all have to go through it, but again, it's not easy on anyone, not women, not men, and again in the corporate world now, to where you have to bite your tongue, especially as Italians. I can't do it, man. I cannot do it. We at least in my generation, we were given a swift spank if you were out of line or you were being disrespectful.
Those days are over.
But unfortunately, not for me when I'm managing a restaurant. If you're going to have some outrageous claim, you better bring your A game because you're going to be a little knocked off your feet because I'm going to tell you when you're wrong, and I couldn't take it anymore. So it all worked out perfectly in regards to getting the dream enough to where I'm able to work consistently and not have to go back to that nightmare of a occupation. But most respect to everyone in customer service, because again, in this day and age, I hope that owners will turn to a point now to where they can say the word no.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, everything now, we're bending over backwards. It's absolutely disrespectful to companies. I remember going to De Niro's restaurant, Ago, and I asked if the waiter if they can change the sauce, and he said, "My apologies, but the chef cannot. They don't like to deviate from the menu." No questions asked. No, but it's okay because rules are rules.
Yeah.
And it's like respect the chef. That shows class when you
absolutely.
when you're out with your girlfriend. I mean, the most important thing is to show class. And I can't tell you how many men would go out and with their girls, with their wives, and just look so trashy in terms of the way that they would behave.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But here we are, though, and finally, like I said, after the hard struggle, and I know Luke will too. Just being able to pursue your dream, and now you're able to work consistently and not have to deal with that drama.
True.
So.
You got the plastic going over your. Take that plastic thing off.
Pat's
your
trying to take a
Sure.
selfie.
I'm trying to put us all four of us on
Hey,
the
it looks like it's
Every
getting.
Every phone you get, it just turns into
Oh, look
garbage.
at you! Hey,
This guy takes.
Easy.
He takes the worst pictures.
look at his
ever.
phone cover. He's got the Jaws
Look at
poster.
I
that.
do.
Look, he's got this thing covering the camera. Look at that.
Here we go.
Look
Okay,
at that.
perfect.
Small boys.
Jeez.
Oh, then there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, I got
Awesome.
the finger out of the way. I love it.
Yeah. I was giving it to Jeff. So tell us more, boys. I mean, what does your moms think of this, you guys? They have to be thrilled.
Sure. Oh man, my mom is my biggest fan right now. She's telling everybody about it.
That's my boy!
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
She has 5 strapping boys. Never carried a grocery bag in her life.
Wow.
And I tell you what, I mean, my parents were together until recently, and having just the support behind you is unbelievable. My mother can't wait for this. She's telling everybody about it, every little story.
So this is, you had 5 brothers. Your
Yep.
mom, you made it easy for your mom. You guys vacuumed, you did your dishes,
100%.
took out the trash, did those responsibilities. Your laundry.
I'm grateful for it now.
Yeah.
Looking
Yeah,
back.
but she had to break up plenty of fights, if we're going to be honest here. But
We were fighting plenty. She learned once we got a little bit
5
older.
boys. There's gonna be some fighting among those brothers.
Yeah.
You know?
Once we got a little older, it wasn't a good idea. Let us go outside, fight it out.
Right. At times, with 3 brothers, it was like my mother was raising a goat farm.
Oh, man, it's crazy. I can't believe she got through it. Every day Mother's Day was recently, so I was able to actually think about it. Take the time to say something on social media, and to her especially. But every day, I mean, the strength. Any strength that I have in this journey of going through anything where you have to hold your tongue or anything like that, all that comes from her. Raising 5 boys, she's stronger than I'll ever be.
Wow, no, that's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about your mom, Dom?
Oh man, I mean, Gypsy Rose Lee, right out of Central Casting. So much to the point that the rest of the family hates us. Because it's just like, look at my boy. Oh my God, he's on the. No, she's not old school Italian, but
You're like, who's her husband, Mario Alonso?
Yeah, but it's such a funny story. My mother would play me up so many times. Italian moms, it's like you can do no wrong, right? So I was Danny Zuko in Greece, if you can believe it. I had hair.
We had Barry Pearl here last week, so.
I seen those old pictures. I'm like, I hardly recognize you when you're like in your 20s, man, and a full head of hair.
So, high school dance. I mean, you do a few moves, this and that. So anyhow, IBM, which is what you worked for like 30 years, they were doing a national tour. And there was somebody in the creative department who was just starting to cast. And she's like, oh, my God. We got to cast my son, and she's like, well, can he dance? She's like, can he dance? Of course he can dance. So I go down, I got my patent leather shoes, I got my jeans on. It's a hot August summer day at Broadway Dance on like 56th and Broadway, right? And I get up there. Guys are like stretching in their tights, they got their balls hanging out, with the friggin', with all, and they're all talking about how, they just got off of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and then this tour and that tour. So anyhow, the Broadway choreographer gets out, and literally, you talk about memorizing 100 lines. He does some combination that literally was like, I would have been 0 for 5, right? So literally the funniest thing ever, and I was heartbroken on the day. But as I was rehearsing the move, I literally Thank God the door was open because I made the move literally towards the door and just walked out, and that was it.
Nice.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But you know that's what. But that's our moms. You know, they build you up. Oh my God. Oh, you can be on Friends. You can be on. And I'm like, Ma, I can't be on Friends. You know, or you. Oh my God, you'd be perfect in that romantic comedy. I'm like, I'm 6'4" and bald. I'm 42 years old. So she's so unrealistic, but it's so heartwarming because again, they want the world for
But you just gave it to her. You know, you're the lead in Megalodon.
Oh, without question, no. But I mean, she you know, they get to such epic proportions that they're like, oh, you and Hugh Jackman would be perfect, you know, fighting together, and it's like, let's be realistic here. We're very confident in our ability, but at the same time, let's keep it grounded, you know. Italian moms, I mean, you can't beat them though.
Well, we're so blessed to have those moms too. A lot of people, you tell your parents you're going to be an actor, and they immediately start talking to you about Plan B. But I was very lucky that my mother was the reason I was in. I was one of the 3 Munchkins when I was 11 years old when we first moved to Indiana.
Wow.
Couldn't believe it. I fought her tooth and nail for being in a play.
My son, the Munchkin.
I didn't want to be in a play.
You think that's bad? My first play experience in elementary school, I got to play a carrot.
Yeah.
And the King's Rabbit in the first grade, and I just stood there.
And guess what? Even then, he didn't have lines.
Yeah. Exactly.
You were background. you did a cross.
Jeff's mom kept saying, my son is the King's Rabbit. She kept hugging the wrong kid in all the pictures.
He could be a cucumber. He could be a radish.
Instead, he's...
Yeah.
I played a vegetable. Yeah, vegetables don't have any lines.
When he tried to eat with the rest of the cast, they said, I'm sorry, that's for rabbits only.
Luke is so right, though. I mean, it's so great we have these moms, though, you know, that support us.
That's what a mom is for. You know what I mean?
But like I said, it's so hilarious when they blow it out of proportion. You know, my uncle, my mother's brother, is like a Lyle Alzado, this tough guy, and, you know. But every damn, gathering, it'd be like, oh, let's put in Dom in Greece, or let's put Dom. And, when you're a kid, you don't realize how much they're, like, being so self-centered. But, like, they make them sit down, and what are they going to say? Hey, listen, I got to go, Right. So, but that's how supportive they are. So, yeah, they're excited. She gets overly sensitive. I took her to go see Fargo, though, and unfortunately, she cannot handle any type of violence or anything, and even like I'll be so excited, I'll be like, Mom, I'm gonna be on Prison Break or whatever, but it's any violence at all, she gets so emotional that it's too much for her.
So she couldn't watch Bronx Tale.
She couldn't watch it. No, well, that's not too bad, but as far as any of the horrific stuff of the Coen brothers or Tarantino, she's totally dialed out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those aren't movies made for mom.
No, but speaking of which, we had a really awkward moment. One of my first movies was at the Hamptons Film Festival, and Maria Bello was playing a role.
Wow, Maria Bello.
Maria Bello was playing, she was playing a role in a movie called The Cooler.
Right.
So that was
that's a great movie. The Baldwin thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was headlining the festival, So Alec Baldwin was there, and William H. Macy and Bello. Anyhow, Bello, she got the whole Italian family sitting around us, and she had some of the most graphic, naked scenes that you could imagine. So it was the same thing, and I was like imagining being around the Italian dad watching her on screen. I was like cringing the whole thing from start to finish. Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Keep your eyes off my daughter.
No.
You see something you like?
Look at my eyes.
I'm going to talk to you in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Grabs you by the lapel, drags you out.
Yeah.
One of the girls from the original Evil Dead.
Oh, cool. Detroit. That was Detroit, right?
It's very good for Detroit, the music hall. It was at the Relic Music Hall. She told me the girl who gets the sex scene with the tree, she didn't set up her family for the scene.
Oh, wow.
And her dad wore a tuxedo and all this.
Oh,
and
wow, yeah.
she told me this terrible story of him. And I guess she does the scene because she grew up with the Raimis in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And he couldn't bring himself to ask the actresses. He hooked it. He brought it in from the car show.
Oh, my God.
So he had the girl he grew up with do the scene.
Yeah.
And she has this. She puts you right there. Her dad's standing up and yelling, "Oh my God, no!"
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
like,
You make me think of that funny YouTube video now. It's called Relax. It's just HBO.
Yeah.
Where you ever see that? Where so basically you're calling mom at home and you're like, hey, yeah, I got this girl bent over and stuff. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? And they'd be like, oh no, but it's for HBO. And they're like, oh,
yeah. So it must be brilliant.
It's gonna be great. you know,
tasteful.
Yes. So they're like all these graphic descriptions where they freak out, and they're like, "Relax, it's HBO, it's fine."
It used to make me cringe because one of the terrible things, if you were going to show your breasts on Entourage, you would get a SAG card out of it. And I thought, well, at least that's brutal, but you're Taft-Hartley.
Oh, my God.
You're going to kill grandma, but the rest of the family will probably recover.
Jesus, the things we do, right?
And by the later seasons of Entourage, these cheap SOBs weren't giving the girls Taft-Hartley. They were offering them $200 more. So not only are you bringing unknown shame onto your family, you're not even leaving it with a SAG card.
Or even another voucher.
Yeah.
It's just to give you cash.
No.
And sometimes they scare you, you know, to where they you think you're going to get blacklisted if you hurt. But if anyone's listening, I mean, you know, speak up. If call SAG, make sure they're on the up and up, because I mean, sometimes they really try to bully. Even with stunts, you know, I've had it twice before to where it's like, nuh-uh, I'm sorry, man. This is a stunt. You got to pay.
There have been the amazing things when you think about it after you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you won't be blacklisted. Look at my IMDb and trust me, you'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, the stuff that you would,
Luke, I want to know if your mother saw you in Sex Sent Me to the ER. Tell me about that. I know so many friends that have done that show.
Me too.
It's so over the top and crazy.
It is. I think I asked her, not that show is, gets too graphic or anything like that, but I think I prefaced it, I told her, just so you know, you're going to see me making out and we're talking about this girl's, butt in the thing. She was like, okay, I'll give it a watch. She's always really good with being supportive with that stuff and not, telling me what she really thinks.
What was the storyline with that?
The storyline for my episode was that she was a beauty pageant queen, and I was.
You were Carl.
By the way, well done, Carl.
Carl, the head pageant judge, who was actually hooking up with one of these beauty pageant kids.
I love it. Even on these slow budget things, it has to be a skeevy and city subplot.
Yeah, of course, a little sin, and so we're upstairs before the lights and the music start to go for the beauty pageant. We're upstairs doing, getting a little rowdy, and her butt implant pops. And then she goes on stage, and there's like a funny scene of me just being like, turn around, and then we rush to the ER, and madness ensues, and the other girls come to the ER and are trying to find her and say that she shouldn't have won.
It breaks my heart because on Sex Sent Me to the ER, the guys who have the least amount of fun are the ones playing the doctor.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah. No, I know. You see some of those X-rays, it's like, oh my God, what the hell were they thinking?
But you're like the piano player at a cat house. Yeah. You're not having any of the fun.
Right. Oh, Jesus. Good stuff, man.
But that's like the one credit everybody seems to want. Every other one of my friends seems to be on Sex Sent Me to the ER.
Yeah, they offered me a second episode, and I had something else to do.
I would have gone for it. What the hell? As long as you're in the
you should have called Jeff Sargent. He'll be happy to cover it.
Yeah. No girls want to do a scene with Jeff Sargent.
Some of those other fun credits they have, like Oxygen, ID Network, and stuff.
Oh yeah.
The Chick Channel.
Yeah,
the Chick Channel. That's what Oxygen is.
But it's good. I mean, you get some good content. Some of those crime recreation things. They hire like to ad nauseum. But it's nice. Sometimes they give you a little bit of playtime on there.
My brother Donald did one of those on the Playboy Channel where he was a gangster.
Yeah.
And he's supposedly looking over the aftermath of his massacre setup.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just a shot.
Yeah.
But they do talking heads the whole time.
Like 3 lines in a shot of him smoking a cigar, and he's very pleased it happened.
I did. You've been to DC Stages?
Sure.
Have you filmed that?
Of course.
I filmed an episode of Snap. She made me do it.
Yeah.
Once again,
crazy.
It was the weirdest thing because in that he played a radish as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gotta give you like a catchphrase every
I'm sorry, sir. That food is for rabbits only.
And he's back.
Hey, Jeffrey, we got another vegetable part for you. Yeah. No lines, but we'll give you an extra
like a vegetable, you're going to lay here and say nothing.
Yeah, lots of eggplant.
You're a big hit.
It made me think about Fred Willard there. Was it with his catchphrase? It was at A Mighty Wind or one of the shows that he was doing, where it's like, hey, what happened? It was like this failed series, but like that's what he's known for. I'm like known for being a radish, Yeah.
But also, the funny thing, I mean, Fred Willard, look at that career.
Yeah, great career.
Fred Willard starred in the first TV movie adapted from a Stephen King novel, Salem's Lot. I mean, this guy's been everything. Drama. Now he's known for comedy.
Yeah.
But when you look at him in the dramatic stuff, he's amazing, you know?
Yeah, no, he had a great career. And I mean, to be so quick with Best in Show is my favorite, you know, where it's just all those little underlying jabs, you know, but he's so quick. Amazing. It's sad.
Very quick wit, that guy, man.
Just sad to see these guys get older. You know, Guest, I mean, I know they just did one for Netflix, which kind of weared off there a little bit. But overall, I mean, just so many legendary. And Best in Show, and then Waiting for Guffman, and Mighty Win there, three of the classic ones. You know?
Yeah, he's pretty tight with those Spinal Tap guys.
Spinal Tap guys, yeah. And then the other thing is, too, that's really a great little tribute to, you know, careers. I mean, Madsen with Tarantino.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing is, I mean, sometimes all you need is like 2-3 good directors that keep you under their wing, and then you can get out of the whole, you know, rigmarole of the whole audition process, which becomes, you know, quite grueling over the years, you know?
Yeah, well, they just pick you out. Yeah, I got a role for you. Boom.
Well, because, you know, attitude's really important. That's the other thing, too, you know, is that, you know, you come up on set, you come prepared. That is so priceless because there's probably so many nightmare stories where directors have to where the actors just aren't prepared or they're friggin' divas, you know?
It's like, where is he? Well, he's in his honey wagon.
Yeah.
Right, you know?
Well, not his honey wagon. That's where they put the radishes.
Yeah.
His mom is sitting there thinking, why did I even drive in here?
Well, if he's not eating his vegetables, at least he is a vegetable.
The greatest lesson ever, I think we talked about it last show, but was just also Will Smith and Hugh Jackman when they have those great attitudes on set. And, they set the standard. So any other, divas at all, I always look at them as a joke because it's like, listen, if those guys can come prepared, then there's no excuse for you, you know?
And I mean, with Will Smith, I was covering Hancock. I was on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
And I just remember he took a moment. There was a girl way, they were shooting outside of the Chinese theater, and the business office is next door. There was a woman way, 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 way up. You could barely see her in that glass hallway at the very top. She blew him a kiss, and he pretended he caught it, and he was having a heart attack because he was so charmed. Yeah. And you just saw this tiny woman way, way up there melt.
Yes.
I mean, he didn't have to do that. He made her day doing it.
Some of these actors, again, I mean, you know, God bless him with all the social issues and everything.
Seriously, God bless him. That was really cool of him.
But, I mean, it's just, he's so refreshing to follow. I mean, a lot of times it's either too much selfies or it's too much, politics. But Will Smith, following him on either Instagram or on Facebook is just priceless because every day he's just in a great mood. My experience was with him on Bright. I was 3 days, one of the orcs.
Right. Well, you wow. Wait, I saw that. You had all that makeup, the pointy ears and all that. That was
Were you
great.
the gangster orc? Which orc were you in?
No. It was just one of the orcs there. And
you weren't one of the cop orcs, were you?
No, just straight up. No, that was Joel Edgerton, who did an amazing job.
Oh,
But it was just enough to experience his work ethic. And the one thing, again, which inspires you, even the same with Asylum and doing Megalodon, was it's not how you are in your first hour, it's how you are in your 12th. And
that's when the rubber meets the road when nobody wants to be there.
And this director, he's from Suicide Squad. I forget his name.
No, he's great, David Ayer. He also wrote Training Day.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good stuff in Suicide Squad. I don't care what the haters say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I thought it was good. I mean, some of them are. I feel like the whole genre is getting a little diluted. I know James Cameron had some really good things to say as far as he hopes it dies off.
The nerve of that guy, though. I mean, he's helping on the next Terminator
Avatar,
movie.
Yeah,
you can't attack superhero movies, especially when he got into the business to draw Iron Man.
It's true. It's just in terms of the fact that Marvel is really mafia. You know, the whole.
But when the quality goes down, you saw Infinity War. Was it bad?
No, not at all. I mean, it's great. Yeah.
It was phenomenal. 10 years in, the movies are actually getting even better.
I guess the issue is sometimes just wanting to see, more like Ready Player One, to where it's a little bit more of a creative concept at the same level, but maybe something a little bit off kilter. To where,
I see what you're saying.
Where it doesn't have to go so much with the episodic or the serial or overshadow the entire town.
But they're not doing that. I mean, when Cameron was fine with it when it was Aliens or Avatar.
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's like Lucas.
But I think during that era, though, it was coming out with still people would go see great dramas,
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel like, say like the book club or whatever is making like maybe 10 million versus people, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, they'd go out and say, oh, let me see this. There's some talented actors in it.
But I hate like Lucas slagging comic book. Well, Lucas did this too, slagging comic book movies.
Yeah.
You can argue Star Wars changed everything into an event movie, you don't have a right to make fun of someone else's franchise, in my opinion.
No, I agree. Yeah.
And Cameron's a genius. He writes and directs and edits.
Yeah.
But I mean, he knows more than anything what you want are asses and seats.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. It just it would be nice though to see just a little bit more variation. And
but that's up to you. You don't have to go see a superhero movie.
Yeah, you're right.
I just saw an amazing movie. Oh my God, Upgrade. Have you seen Upgrade?
No.
Upgrade is
that's a good one.
Jason Blum's Blumhouse made it. It's Leigh Whannell who wrote the original and directed the original Saw. It's an amazing movie. It's like Death Wish meets RoboCop, and then it takes a left turn.
Yeah.
Hey, Robert Chapin's watching. He's going in for knee surgery. He's a stunt man. That's another guy we gotta, hey.
Yeah.
Hello,
doing
Robert.
a great job out there.
But you know what? It's up to you to find the upgrades
You're
out
right.
there. You know what I mean?
You're
I mean,
absolutely right.
everyone's going to see Infinity War.
Yeah, no,
I
guess it's just in regards to the green lighting, more of a budget for some of the other unique concepts versus, back in the day where they did. Now it's they're all in with the superheroes. Yeah.
But if Marvel's going to go 10 years in, at least they're doing variations on a theme.
Yeah.
Deadpool is great.
Yeah.
It's totally different from the superhero paradigm.
Yeah, it's kind of unique. Yeah.
And to me, it offends me because you finally got a movie. Remember, for the longest time, HBO was, to go back to your thought there, HBO was beating the crap out of movies.
Yeah.
Now the superhero movie came along, and a lot of them are really good, and people seem to know when they're bad. I mean, people left Lone Ranger in the dust where it belonged.
Yeah.
They'll back what's fun, what's entertaining.
Yeah.
When for 10 years, HBO was whipping the hell out of movies. Movies weren't doing very well. HBO was doing great.
Yeah.
Now you're at the point where people see a Marvel movie and want to see it. And the Marvel movies, I think, are well written, well acted, well directed. The Russo brothers are amazing.
Yeah.
When you look at Jon Favreau's original Iron Man, it was a game changer.
Right.
And to his credit, he's doing different stuff. Jungle Book was totally different and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Now they got the new movie. I just saw the trailer.
Mowgli is coming, yeah.
It's more dark. It's dark. He's a little
But
older.
it's a sequel, yeah.
It's a sequel.
Yeah.
What do you think of some of these '80s reboots, like Overboard and now Ocean's?
Ocean's 11, and now it's all
Yeah,
female.
yeah.
Although you could argue Ocean's 11 goes back to the 60s.
Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of Twilight Zone, it was written by a Twilight Zone writer, original. The original is written by, God, I'm blanking on him.
Yeah.
He just passed. Jeff, you remember, he was in our room, the old hippie who was in the lotus position on our bed at the first Comic-Con we did in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow he got into our hotel room, and he was this crazy, wonderful Zen old man. But he wrote Ocean's 11. He wrote the first Captain Kirk Star Trek episode, ongoing, the Salt Monster.
Yeah, he's that old guy.
Yeah.
He looked like
George Clayton Johnson.
Okay.
He wrote Kick the Can for Twilight Zone and a bunch of other classic. He was this crazy old Zen guy. We came back to our hotel room, and he was sitting on our bed in the lotus position, and nobody let him in, so we have no idea how he got in the room. But he was telling us about co-writing Logan's Run, working with Rod Serling.
Wow.
So the more we fed this guy, he was like Gizmo.
Yeah.
The more we gave him booze and stuff, he would tell us stories. And then he pulled out the biggest spliff I've seen in my life.
Are you kidding me?
And
it's always exciting to see people, talk to people from the old legendary era. There was a director on my son's little league team, and he was just talking about the old Happy Days. Mork and Mindy would direct.
What director is he?
Oh God, I forget his. I didn't
Is
catch
it
his name.
Named Chip or Jerry Paris? Or
Last name was Van Tile, but he was just one of the directors during that era. Taxi and all that. So yeah, he was just telling me little stories about Williams and everything else. And,
wow, master of three-camera comedy, as Jim Belushi used to call them.
yeah, and that's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle of like legend too in Paramount, where all the stages were kind of connected. Laverne and Shirley, Happy Days, and then also Taxi there, which must have been such a magical time back then.
Well, I did think of that. I remember when you did a Star Trek Alien, you'd leave at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, but also coincidentally, you'd come in at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I remember after Kelsey Grammer had I've told this story on the show before, but
Yeah, that was Paramount. Yeah.
yeah, it was in the Paramount. It was right by the Laverne and Shirley Field, as they called it.
Yeah, that's the original RKO area.
Yes, you would. We were leaving at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and this is like the
To do his beast makeup?
Yeah, because you'd be in makeup from like 3 to 6, and
Yeah.
then you'd have to be camera ready, and they'd be putting gunk on your teeth, and you know. So we were leaving at 3 o'clock in the morning the next day.
Yes.
And the big story in LA was when Kelsey Grammer was on drugs and flipped a car. Mm-hmm. And when we were leaving the lot, we were passing the Fraser offices. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, every single person. I recognize the cast members. I recognize the producers. I recognize everyone from Frasier is right there having a meeting except Kelsey Grammer. So they're obviously trying to figure out how to keep Frasier going without Frasier.
Yeah, so with Roseanne now, and then also Lethal Weapon too. But Sean William Scott took over, which is great.
But Sean William Scott, as you know, is a great guy.
Yeah.
And Roseanne is self-inflicted.
Yes,
you know,
of course.
Kelsey Grammer had demons. And when you read about his problems, you know, his sister was murdered and all that.
Yeah.
I'm going to forgive a guy who can't get past the death of a family member.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a scale.
But she put the #1 show on TV. She put every one of those guys in the crew out of work.
I know, and you feel bad for them. Yeah.
And they can't. The makeup women, the boom operator, all these guys were suddenly cruising on TV's #1 show.
Yeah.
Now everything's crewed up and they can't get work.
No, just ridiculous.
They got house payments, man.
Yeah, just irresponsible.
Because this crazy loon,
Yeah.
you know.
It was sad. I worked with Kelsey Grammer right on. It was the pilot actually.
Yeah.
For with Kevin. I mean not Kevin Hart. Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
It was called Partners, and it you know that.
There's about 2 guys who were starting a radish farm.
And they said, "Oh no, we're in a scene with Jeff Sargent. Let's cut it out."
Jeff's mom at this point just weeps.
Oh, hey, guess what? Oh my God, it's time. We got to plug our sponsors, man.
We do.
They're
All right,
paying,
boys.
They're paying for our show. Patrick, what do you do when you?
We got 2 New Yorkers here.
We got 2 New
What
Yorkers.
makes a good New York bagel, boys?
The dough.
No, the New York water.
Yes. New York Bagel Company in Rancho Cucamonga.
Our pal Jamal, the New York transplant who makes his magical work. Jamal uses New York water and the dough, and it makes the bagels amazingly good.
Isn't that
They're
something?
delicious. My favorite bagel is the blueberry bagel.
I am a big fan of the everything bagel.
Yes, and it's right here in Rancho Cucamonga on the corner of Archibald and Foothill.
Yes.
Archibald,
Right next to the comic shop.
Archibald and Foothill. And it's got a picture. It's got the New York, Dominic. It's got the...
Times Square.
It's got a picture of Times Square.
Can I say it like this? Times Square, right there.
Times Square.
So
And
there.
it's got 2 clocks with New York time and California
We're
time.
we're going right after this.
Yeah.
We got to go there.
Yes.
We got to support
We love
them.
Jamal.
Absolutely.
And so, what about when you want to? Where do you go when you want a nice beer, craft beer, or a glass of wine, or smoke a fine cigar?
Well, I would like to drink a nice port while watching the sun set over IHOP as the train rolls by in Little Upland. So I go to the Upland Wine Merchant and
It's Pacific
Wine Merchant.
Come on, Mark Hefferman's gonna kick your ass.
I know.
Okay,
Yeah.
we gotta say his name right.
Mark Hefferman.
Heffernan, not Hefferman. Heffernan.
I said Hefferman.
The owner and operator of
Owner-operator Pacific Wine Merchant
Merchants
Cigar
and
Company.
Cigar Exchange.
Cigar
Pacific
Exchange.
Wine Merchant and Cigar Exchange.
And we appreciate you, Mark.
They have right down at the Upland Metrolink station, right there.
Have a cold brew on
Smoke
Thursday.
a fine cigar with the finest humidor in Southern California.
And Jeff is not being metaphorical. He means it.
No. And they have live music on the weekend.
So if you want to have a nice drink, you'll need it if it's the archaeology
Wines
experience.
from all over the world. And you can buy T-shirts, too.
And there's dogs. When they were playing on the outdoor bar area, people bring their dogs. It's great.
That's awesome, man. It sounds beautiful out here. It's such a different world out here, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And you know, the great thing, you can work in LA and then you get the hell out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's very refreshing.
To me, if you bridge your time before your 45-minute drive, 35 on a good day, if you time it right, you'll make your audition with plenty to spare, and then you find a movie or something to do till, you know, it's time to go home.
Can't say enough about that. I mean, we were down in San Pedro filming. It was the same feeling, you know, where it's just so nice to be out of the Hollywood vibe for a little bit, you know?
And you're right by where they shot Blade Runner, Terminator 2, Fight Club, all this good stuff.
Yeah.
Now,
man,
that
bless
same area, Dominic, didn't they film the outside of Superstore in that area?
you. Outside of Superstore is at Universal Lot.
Oh, that's Universal.
Really?
Yeah, it's at the Universal Lot. Yeah, it's right Barham near Warner Brothers on that side.
Oh.
Yeah. No, they didn't go off lot for that at all.
Oh, okay.
But oh my God, if you see that set, it's just incredible in terms of they created an entire what looks like
totally
Walmart.
Walmart. Yeah.
Oh my God,
It's kind of a parody of Walmart.
It was it was the first time when I walked into a set where I literally felt like I was going through like a what do you call it, like a medium or something, where you just like, you felt like, you're in the Universal lot and then you're like, just stepped into like a different world, It's incredible.
Yeah. Wow.
Don't see too many Walmarts out here in California more.
Yeah.
It's kind of like King of the Hills got Megalomart.
Yeah.
In other words,
hey, shoot! Let's we get some tie-ins there with Megalodon. I say the one cool thing for Luke and I, hopefully they wouldn't take it this far, but
where do you want to go for shark meat?
It's the next dream would be for us to get action figures.
Oh,
yeah, that's the one last bucket list I have.
We gotta get Captain Streeper.
It's Captain Streeper. As a matter of fact, I think there's a website. I think there is some if you Google, but I think it's like $200-300. But I was like debating it, like to where if you have the back frame, like the old Star Wars thing, and then put the Star Wars.
Well, here's an idea, Tom.
Board,
How about since I'm an artist and a sculptor?
You're a radish.
Radish, a total radish.
Jeff
I'm gonna kill you guys. I can
also
never eat radishes on my tacos anymore.
Jeff says it's not. Jeff says it's not weird or anything, but as a sculptor, he'd like to do you both in the nude.
Yeah.
But look, no, they'll 3D print you guys.
No.
And then I'll mold them, and we can make Megalodon dioramas, and we can sell those.
He'll need you to come to his dark garage.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we'll have the big mouth of the shark, and we'll have you guys with harpoons.
Oh my God! Yeah, Jeff, you do amazing work there. I mean, Disney there, that's all taken care of, right? And when are they opening there in Disneyland?
That'll be 2019. I think January. I think they opened that up. You could see all my personal work on the Star Wars ranch.
There goes his NDA.
X-wing fighters.
They're gonna sue this radish.
Oh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna walk into another world. Like you said, it's like walking right into the not on a movie set, but in the real world.
Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait. As long as it's not that robot from. Solo.
Oh my God! You know what? Again,
she's sexless.
We grew up.
It's like, oh, that's my girlfriend. Like,
we grew up with Star Wars movies, and it was always the next Star Wars was always better than the last one.
Yes.
Now it's like, well, this one's not as crappy as the last one. Oh wow, rave review. Thank you. I'll be right in.
I know. I got to save my social media arguments with the millennials. I use
This is not Star Wars, you guys.
Not my Star Wars.
This is not my Star Wars.
Millennials.
So you're probably not going to get your souvenir Solo cups over at Denny's then.
I got the one with the Millennium Falcon on it.
But this is what you got to do.
That's good enough.
Shame on you.
Only at Disneyland you could get the Infinity Gauntlet sippy cups. It's a big fist. You put your hand in it. And you got a straw, and you can.
And unlike Solo, Infinity War was a great movie.
Yes.
I mean, that's the one. Again, the best film of the year, and they said this is the year. I guess Marvel has pulled ahead of the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
I mean.
Good.
Well, yeah, they did. Yeah, that was a really great movie. As far as
it wasn't. I was bad. And you know what? For such a movie full of Strum and Drang, I thought. The Brolin as Thanos was great. A lot of dialogue. It's very earnest. You can actually kind of sympathize with his point of view.
Isn't that something? Yeah. Amazing, man. I switching gears this weekend. They have something from our childhood. I think something called "Won't You Be My Neighbor." It's a tribute to Fred Rogers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So again, just going back to that simple times, before all the drama and everything else. I'm looking. Maybe I want to take the kids just to show them.
Are you gonna go? Are you gonna take them to see Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, there's just something so refreshing about a gentleman where it just was about being kind, And before all, like I said, life just makes us so bitter for one reason or another, and every person is justified.
And they're putting their baggage on childhood stuff and genre stuff where it has no business.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, so hopefully it'll be a nice little refreshing little thing there this weekend.
Yeah. Fred Rogers, he was a marksman. He was a
sharpshooter. But remember the urban legend? The urban legend about Mr. Rogers is that he killed so many people in Vietnam, and he was wearing the sweaters to hide all his tattoos.
He was Thanos at one point. He was Thanos.
But he did battle in court single-handedly.
Yes.
To get the funding to keep his program
public
going.
access, just amazing.
And one of the guys on his crew was Michael Keaton. Pittsburgh. Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton's all over the documentary.
Yeah,
Won't You Be My Neighbor?
That was one location when I went to Pittsburgh that I had to see, and they were so friendly there. If you get a chance, WQED. They just asked for like a little tiny donation, but just a priceless experience to be able to go into where that was his quarters, where he filmed. It was
Dom burst in looking for Mr. McFeely.
Yes, and coincidentally, every other weekend he'll show up and read kid stories.
Wow.
Yeah, some of the old kids, and they still have the castle there.
He said you hurt his legs when he was reading you Goodnight Moon.
Lady Elaine was pretty butch, though, wasn't she?
I'm not sure, because we were more of a Captain Kangaroo house. That had the most part of the puppets.
Sure. And they want to redo that, don't they?
Did they
I think they do, but there's only one Captain Kangaroo.
Did you guys remember that Dusty's Treehouse when you were a kid? That was on PBS, too.
What we had in Detroit, we usually watch Canadian programming. Yes. So our bozo was Canadian.
Okay.
He'd say, we're out of time,
Yeah.
And we had something called, Canada was really big on kids shows. Mm-hmm. So they had Pic and Meek.
Yeah.
And they were done in Quebec. So they spoke Quebecois for the entire episode. You wouldn't understand a damn word these two puppet mice were saying.
Yes.
But you got the gist of it,
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Pic and Mick, and then there was
The Ghoul Show.
The Ghoul was American. He was done in Detroit, and Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell worked on that. As a kid, that's when I first heard about Evil Dead, because they were coming on to promote, but what was interesting is we had a show called the two big Canadian shows, Mr. Dress Up, which is why you'll meet a bunch of millennials named Finnegan, and Casey are two big Canadian names. Casey was they never said his gender. You never knew if he was a boy or a girl.
Yes.
And he had a dog named Finnegan. Yeah. And Casey and Finnegan are two of the big Canadian names. What's the show about the guy living with the redheaded girl? They just brought it back. Will and Grace.
Will and Grace, okay.
What's up, Curly G?
Will is Canadian, and his son is named after Finnegan, the puppet dog from Mr. Dressup. And the other one, which I thought was the better of the kids' show, was The Friendly Giant, which was a big, stocky guy, and he's wearing a burlap sack, and he was a giant, and he'd invite you into his castle, and he'd pull up his chair, and he'd go, you can have this chair right here, because he's a giant. It's going to stand for the hour.
Of course.
So that was a great show.
How come you didn't get that role?
Because I was like 3 and I was enjoying Friendly Giant.
But speaking of PBS, you know who's really approachable on Twitter is Frank Oz.
Really?
He's really approachable. I've asked him 2-3 questions, and he's answered back, and I'm geeking out. I'm like, Miss Piggy, Yoda's talking. I'm chatting with him. Yeah.
After you, Grover.
Yeah. And he's a good guy to follow. All good stuff.
Sorry.
I think I crossed the line a little, because where I wanted to know his relationship with Brando, because I know they had some drama on that.
Why would you ask him about his bad experience?
Well, because I just was I was just curious, if it was just all myth or whatever, and he answered it really professionally, just saying they both forgave each other afterwards, and they just kind of had a little bit of agreement. But, Brando being a legend, because he was asking, he said, ask me any question. I was just, it's the first thing I thought about.
He said that to you?
Yeah, well, no, just to his audience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but he was happy to answer.
So Yoda was taking all the comers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so great that he's approachable like that.
Yeah, Twitter, like I said, I try to just keep it where people are actually into posting their entertainment. But Frank Oz is more or less one of them,
Well, you don't want to pants Yoda. You know what I mean? You don't want to ask him something that'll make him mad or embarrass him. You know what I mean?
No, of course. Like I said, that was I didn't think it was too out of line. It was just Brando. Being such a legend, and obviously, it was one of those things too. Where speaking of line memorization, that guy. he literally for Superman and for even Godfather. As brilliant as he was, he would just be reading off the teleprompter. Or
Sarah Douglas.
Yeah,
I can confirm this because I did a story on Sarah Douglas. She was one of the Kryptonian criminals at the beginning of Superman.
Yeah,
and Jack O'Halloran, Sarah Douglas, and Terrence Stamp are there.
Yeah.
And Brando walks past Terrence Stamp.
Yeah.
And he walks past Jack O'Halloran because he would get his nose broken if he did what he was. And as a young BAFTA actress, Sarah Douglas can't believe the great Marlon Brando is coming towards her. And he puts basically a sticky note on her forehead and one just above her breast.
Oh, my God.
Of his lines.
I just heard that. On a very popular show right now where I heard the same thing, and unfortunately the star name got kicked off. He was guest starring, but he put it on the day player's face. And it's
was this Lethal Weapon?
I can't say.
Okay, if it was Lethal Weapon, I got a story for you in the lobby. I just heard from another actor.
But oh my God, that audio is coming out of that guy. My God, they really weren't kidding there.
Well, one of the stories is so horrible. I'll tell you in the hallway. It involves a really beloved character actor
Yeah.
You know, and
because you never know. You know, sometimes it's just a lot of a pissing contest between the two stars. But then
having worked with Sean William Scott, I think the right man has the job.
Yeah, no, we're excited. And again, there's no excuse for that. You know, Luke's coming up in the ranks right now.
Yeah, look, you're not going to go a-hole, are you?
No, you know, we were talking about Will Smith and taking those little small moments, and it makes such a big difference. You know, you can see the people who are in this just for the love of it and, you know, the entertainment and for the people. Like, on set, Dominic had 120 pages to go through, 20 pages a day, and yet I learned so much from him every day in between takes. I never felt like I couldn't go up to him and talk to him. And this is coming from the guy who's on, you know, the poster. He's the marquee guy. So just to have an example like that on one of my first features was so, you know, valuable, because just to learn that you give as much as you get back what you give.
Well,
and Luke told us this great story about you, Dom, where you said you would flick your cigarette against the PA's face.
Absolutely.
And the crew loved it.
Was it Alfalfa? Didn't he used to piss on the... I think literally the Hal Roach thing, I mean, he ended up dying. You know,
shot in the stomach.
Shot, I mean, over a fight, but...
over a dog.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, but just thank God, even with Katherine Heigl, I mean, that now with the whole Me Too era, let's hope that we're also going in the direction of no more harassment, you know, for anybody. You know, because again, us men, we have to deal with that as well. If you're, you know, low in the totem pole, sometimes if you're PA, you're doing background or whatever, there needs to be respect for everybody on set.
He's talking to you, Radish.
Yeah. Jeffrey's very different.
I'm no longer in extra holding. Now I'm back in the salad bowl.
I'm sorry, that's for the King's Rabbits. Please don't look at the King's Rabbit when he marches out of the...
Oh, gosh.
It really gets so ridiculous. I remember being on one set, you know, years ago doing BG, and all of a sudden, oh no, I'm sorry. I mean, it literally is like 1960s Alabama. You cannot sit here. I'm so sorry. It's like, are you freaking kidding me right now? I mean, what do you think I'm going to do? And I understand. I mean, God bless if some of them have stalkers. But for 99.9% of us, it's like we're just here to get a paycheck. I don't care. Right. I'm not here to, you know, nudge you.
You're just going to steal enough food from Extras Holding to survive.
Oh, yeah.
I'm here to perform and do the best I can and continue with my craft.
Yeah, but hopefully, again, they start bringing awareness to all that. Martin Sheen, I remember when he was doing the White House show.
West Wing.
Yeah, West
Wing. Did you work on that?
I did not work on it, but I heard a great story where this non-union background guy wanted to just grab an ice pop from the union section, and the catering guy took the, I mean, how humiliating could it be? Took the ice pop out of the background's hand, non-union background, and Martin Sheen caught it and had the catering guy fired.
Wow.
Because again, I mean, you know, if we're going to start...
That's humiliating. Yeah, I mean, I've done that show of West Wing.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff would fill his backpack.
That's the move.
But it's like you're it's treating you like a subhuman.
Trying to eat as many ice pops as he can as they walk him off the lot.
Scumbag. You're not worthy of this popsicle from Principal Act. You know.
I was in Atlanta. I did a really nice family film. It's on Amazon right now called Ernie and Serby. And I start in it with a great actor, Brogan Hall, who was in Baby Driver. He plays Kevin Spacey's nephew. But anyhow, this one of the background actors was in our era of awesome wrestling. He was one of the B guys, but he also was going up against, you know, Hogan or whatever.
Right.
So again, we're just shooting the breeze while we're ready to get on set. I don't even think anything of it. I mean, you know, again, that's why the world I come from in order to make a living.
Right.
And one of the PAs comes up to him and says, "I'm sorry, you're not allowed to talk to Mr. Pace." And I was just like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, but it's this hierarchy where, again, hopefully with these movements, let's bring awareness to that, where it doesn't matter if you're the garbage man, if you're the catering guy, we're all a team. And like I said, going back to Hugh Jackman and Will Smith, it's the same attitude where everybody's treated with respect, and that's the bottom line.
Crew guy told me a great story about Will Smith working with his son on Karate Kid or something. And he said that, not Karate Kid,
After Earth or
whatever that was called.
The Office one, the one from San Francisco.
And the
Pursuit
guy,
of Happiness.
The crew guy was, it might have been Pursuit of Happiness. The crew guy was really moved because he said the kid didn't say please or thank you and just cut the guy off to talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
And he said Will Smith kicked his son in the ass and he said, thank this man. He's doing a hard job that nobody will see in this movie.
Such a shame.
But he called him on it. He called his own kid on it, and this crew guy remembered it and was really moved by how nice Will Smith was about it.
No, listen. Go ahead, Luke.
Well, it's just it's attitudes like that really, you know, especially when you're on set, can just bring the cast together and the crew together. You know, it's important to have both. And moving so quick, you know, when we were on Megalodon, attitudes like Dominic had and Caroline and all the other leads, you know, it was just amazing to have that camaraderie, because that's what makes a low budget movie like this and the story together and the cast. That's what makes it all come, and that's where you get the magic.
Luke and Dom, we're in 4 minutes to go. Plug everything. When can we see Megalodon, and how can we follow you guys online?
Dom, let it rip. Let's hear it.
Well, you can check me out on Oxygen Network this Sunday night at 7 p.m.
This is Serby?
This is going to be a new series. This will be Bird in the Backyard.
Wow.
And I play the lead detective, Detective Lombard, and it's, again, pretty straightforward.
You're trying to get your bird?
Trying to, it was buried in the backyard. And then 2 films right now on Amazon. It's The Midnight Man with Vinnie Jones, William Forsythe, Doug Jones.
Doug Jones?
Doug Jones,
yeah. And Vinnie Jones, who worked with the Juggernaut.
Yeah, William Forsythe, Steve Valentine, Max Adler from Glee, and then also starring in Ernie Serby, amazing family film. And then Megalodon, you can catch either late July, early August. We're hoping this is the opening act for Sharknado 6,
wow.
Which I think that air date is August 16th.
Julie Newmar's birthday and the day Elvis died.
Yes. Well, we'd love to hopefully get you guys out to the premiere, too, if you'd like to come.
We'll be honored, boys.
We'll be there, brother.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Dom, plug away. I mean, Luke, plug away.
Megalodon, I'm looking forward to that coming out. Right now, nothing that you can go see yet, but definitely follow me on social media at Luke Fattorusso all across the board. Instagram, getting my Twitter up. Little things will be coming out soon. I like to do a lot of my own content, so keep your eyes out for that, too.
Dominic Pace, Luke Fattorusso. Yes. We really enjoyed the last 2 hours, fellas.
I want to thank that show Scorpion, because I don't think we'd be here right now together. That's where I met Dominic, on the set of Scorpion.
Yeah, remember that? He said, "Why are you talking to Mr. Pace?" And they fired you. Dom said, "You're not a PA, but I'm going to bounce a cigarette off this idiot's face."
Get this radish out of here.
Get this radish out of here.
But the pineapple was good on the craft service. The pineapple.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Unlike the radish, it knew its place.
All right, thank you for watching the Jeff Sargent Show. Tomorrow
on Shark Week continues. We have Joe Alves, production designer on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Rod Serling's Night Gallery, director Joss 3D, and of course, he designed the town, designed the shark on the original Jaws. Not only that, Joe Alves has done a ton of stuff. As a 17-year-old, he helped create the monster, the id, in Forbidden Planet. He also, the guy is a production designer. His artwork is amazing. The stories he can and will tell. Bought one of J.J. Abrams' very first scripts. Could not get it. Well, a great story.
Tune in, 7 a.m., just like you did today.
In the god-awful hours of 7 to 9 a.m.
7 to 9 a.m.
And we want to thank these guys for beating us to the studio by 5 minutes. Luke Fattorusso, Dominic Pace. Fellas, we were touched. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Guys, you were great.
Thank you.
And at the premiere, you're going to sign our Megalodon posters.
Yeah.
We're streaming. Shut it off. Shut it off.
Okay. I have a flyer. Yeah. I have a flyer. I'm getting ready for the Comic-Con. I'll be down there.
You're going to do San Diego.
I'm going to do San Diego.
Are you going to be at the Asylum booth? They have one.
Oh, I thought you were like,
no.
You're going to be in the fucking bathroom, buddy?